Welcome to the third annual Culties. I can't believe we got here, especially because, the first one wasn't called Culties, and the second one wasn't either. And we had something called the Culties that was something totally different. It doesn't matter. Third annual Culties, I'm calling it now, because we have started every year since we started this podcast, going through and giving awards to films that have not even come out yet. It's a preview of the year-ahead film. It's not really an award show. We just want to get a jump on, the Oscars and the Emmys and the Golden Globes and all those fancy pants. And that's how we do it. Now, if this is your first time at the Culties, you should remember a couple of things. Number 1, keep your hands inside the ride at all times. Number 2, hands out of your pants. Number 3, just remember, don't take it too personally. This is a sarcastic take on an award show that's total nonsense. It's even more meaningless than other award shows, if you can believe that. I wear that as a badge of honour. So if your film doesn't win, don't take it too personally. But you can take it to the comments and call me out, or tweet me at pop_cult_pod. Aside from that, the only rule we have is that every film can only be nominated once across all categories. That way we cover as many films as possible this year. And now, as much as I have said this isn't like other award shows, there's one way that we're a little like other award shows. We all know we need music to start our award show, and so I've written a little tune. And this is how it goes. It's the... I don't want to do this, actually. Fuck it. Play the intro, man. Play the intro! From Hollywood, California, it's the third annual Culty Awards. Here's your host, Tom Pod. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the third annual Culties. I am your cult leader and host, Tom Pod, as it says in our lovely graphic here, which I implore you to check out. The video version of this, it's well worth it for the award show that's in it, because we've got lots of visual components going on. This is an award show, not like any other award show, where we give out awards to films before they're even out. Imagine if you're a Hollywood executive, you can now say an award-winning film before it even hits cinemas. And, keep that in mind for next year. If you want to throw a bit of moolah my way, I can easily be bought and paid for. But like other award shows where we are a bit more traditional, I was going to say it's not like an award show that you can buy them, but hey, you can buy a Golden Globe. Hey, take that, lads. All the stars are out tonight. They're just over there. Don't say anything, guys. Don't clap. I am recording a podcast. That's just your guest in my home. They are here, though. We can't turn around the camera legally. They don't want to be featured on camera. That would cost a lot more. But trust me, they're here. Like, who is here? Oh, Liam Neeson. Liam Neeson's here. Hi, Liam. Hello. How are you doing? I'm very good, Liam. How are you doing? I'm all right. I'm a bit so old and cranky. Oh, well, if you want to get up and stretch your legs anytime, Liam, make yourself a cup of tea. I might just do that. Thanks, Tom. Yeah, thank you, Liam. See you later, mate. Thank you. Oh wow, Liam Neeson, imagine. That's a big get. Who else is here? Julia Roberts. I don't know what Julia Roberts would say or sound like, but no, she's shaking her head. You don't want to be on mic? Well, I'm just glad you're here, Julia. You have a lovely smile. Thank you for being here. She's definitely here, though. Wow, what a glamorous gig I've got here. Wow. This was a tough job to get, by the way. Billy Crystal was just gunning for this job, but thankfully I got it for him. And look, I'm really making an effort. Hey, I'm wearing a suit. Anyway, as I mentioned, if you've never been here before, this is the Culty Awards. We give awards to films that have not come out yet. Basically a preview of the year. And this is a joke that hack Billy Crystal might make. Suck my willy, Billy. Whoa, this is getting intense. He might say, oh, well, why don't you just replay the preview of last year? Because everything's been delayed. I get it. Look, some of these films we talked about before, some of these films we might end up talking about next year. That's just the nature of the beast. But trust me, it's going to be worth our time. It's a bit of fun. Don't take it too seriously. We are going to talk as well about films that maybe should have won the category last year, if it's a repeating category, etc. Starting off with a category we have had before, which is the Everything Old is New Again Award. Wow. So we are starting first with our nominees. This is for reboots, remakes, and things that we've seen before. Cinderella is something we have most definitely seen before. Cruella, again, something we've seen before from 101 Dalmatians, etc. Jungle Cruise, based on a Disneyland theme park ride. That was a weird sentence. Candyman, a semi-sequel reboot. What's going on there from Candyman? My Little Pony. I said things we've seen before. I haven't seen My Little Pony before, just to be clear. West Side Story. Yeah, seen that a million times before. We'll talk about that. Godzilla vs. Kong. We have seen that bad boy before too. Both of them, in fact. Here are our nominees, 7 nominees in this category. We're going to hold it up right there, and we're going to go through it in a little bit more detail. So, here's the thing. Part of the kind of fun of this is that we can't just basically say, these are the nominees and the winner is, because that would be what a boring award show does. And this is a great award show. It's the best award show. So we're going to go through these in a bit more detail. We're going to basically say, this is what goes on in them. Here's why you should be excited or not excited. Because, hey, you might have known nothing about these films, and now you can learn, bitch. Yeah, you wouldn't get that at the Oscars. Billy Crystal wouldn't call you a bitch, but I can. Cinderella. Okay, I don't need to tell you the story. It's Cinderella, let's be honest. It's a modern 3D musical version of Cinderella, though, coming straight out of 2012 with that 3D musical nonsense. It's written by Kay Cannon, who is also directing it. She is best known for writing the Pitch Perfect films, and she also directed Blockers. Pretty decent movies. Bit of a strange one to go after Cinderella, but who am I to judge? The titular role of Cinderella will be played by Camilla Cabello. Damn it, I know how to say her name, but no, like I'm confusing myself. The singer, and she also has ads for Skechers. There's your promotional tie-in. Don't steal this, okay? You're going to do an ad that ties in for Cinderella, where she slips into a Skechers and she goes, it's just right. That's how you market this movie. Just saying. Also in the film are Idina Menzel, Billy Porter, Pierce Brosnan, James Corden, and Minnie Driver. Camilla Cabello is also working on the music, and Idina Menzel, of course, will have a song best known as Elsa. It's apparently coming out February 5th. Spoiler alert, it's not. Let's be honest. There's going to be a lot of that going around. Cruella is another film, which is apparently coming out. I don't know why. Most people would probably say the same thing. Why are we getting a Cruella movie? But anyway, set in the 1970s of London, young fashion designer Estella Deville becomes obsessed with dog skins, especially Dalmatians, until she eventually becomes a ruthless and terrifying legend known as Cruella. Eventually, probably the last scene of the movie, she'd throw on a fur coat and it'd be like, oh my God, it's Cruella. Right. It's directed by Craig Gillespie. Lars and the Real Girl fame, and I, Tonya is what he's directed. First of all, I should say the film has 6 writers. Rarely a good sign when a film has a lot of writers. I will just say that right off the bat, not judging this film necessarily. The lead is played by Emma Stone. She's, of course, playing Cruella, or Estella, I guess, in this case. Emma Thompson is also in the cast. She plays the antagonist. Paul Walter Hauser and Mark Strong are also in the film. And apparently Roger and Anita, who are the human characters in the animated 101 Dalmatians, are in the film. I don't know if that makes sense from a timeline-wise. To be honest, I didn't think to look, and I don't really care. Now, I'm going to get into my reservations about all these films in a minute. Basically, we're going to whittle it down. I'm going to save what I want to say on that, because I have quite a lot to say. Jungle Cruise, of course, as I said, based on a theme park ride that you can find at Disney. Not necessarily the most popular ride, but it's there, isn't it? Dr. Lily Houghton enlists the aid of wisecracking skipper Frank Wolf to take her down the Amazon in their ramshackle boat. Together, they search for an ancient tree that holds the power to heal, a discovery that will change the future of medicine. Directed by Jean Colette Serra. Oh, he directed 3 Liam Neeson action films. Unknown, Non-Stop, and The Commuter. All those transport-based ones. Liam, Jean Colette Serra, your friend, he's directing Jungle Cruise. What do you think of that? I think he's a great director. He's a good man. Thanks, Liam. Wow. Can't believe Liam Neeson's on the podcast. Wow, what a step up it is from last year. He also directed The Shallows, for what that's worth. If that changes your opinion anyway. Emily Blunt is playing the character Lily Houghton. The Rock is playing opposite her as Frank Wolf. Edgar Ramirez plays our villain. It's coming out July 30th, apparently. We have had a few trailers for this, which we'll get into. Candyman is one of those films that's like, oh, it's a spiritual successor, but also kind of a soft reboot. You know, those kind of ones they're getting a lot of now, where it's like, is it a sequel or a reboot? It's both. It's new. It's fresh. It's Mentos. So, basically, it follows the 1992 original film. It sees a return to the now gentrified Chicago neighborhood where the legend began. It's one of those sequels that's kind of a reboot, kind of not. Directed by Nia DaCosta, who made Little Woods with Tessa Thompson, and will next move on to Captain Marvel 2. That is a pattern you're going to see. Pretty much every writer and director that's ever nominated is like, oh, and now they're attached to this Marvel movie. What? So yeah. She also was involved in the writing process along with Rin Rosenfeld and Jordan Peele. Yahya Abdul-Mateen II plays our lead, and Tiona Paris is also second lead. Tony Todd is returning as the titular Candyman, set to come out August 27th. That was originally coming out last year, of course. But moving on. My Little Pony is another film. As I said, I know nothing about Look, I deserve credit. I know nothing about My Little Pony. I had to research My Little Pony for this. Give me a like, for fuck's sake. Subscribe, goddammit. Do you know what happened to me? I fell down a rabbit hole on My Little Pony. This is a film that has been announced. There's not a lot of details on it. We don't even have a title. It's just Untitled My Little Pony movie. It does not have any connection to a previous My Little Pony movie. I think it came out in 2015, 2017 maybe.
All we know is that it is the first film with a new generation of ponies and for a new generation of fans. So apparently if you want to jump on the old pony bandwagon, here's a place to do it. So maybe this time next year after seeing this film, I'll be an old brony, mate. It's also going to be CGI apparently, set to come out September 24th. Who knows beyond that? West Side Story. We all know this West Side Story. Teenagers Tony and Maria, despite having affiliations with rival street gangs, the Jets and the Sharks, fall in love in 1950s New York City. Directed by Steven Spielberg, I believe his first musical. Again, I'll get into why I don't think this is necessarily good, as long with some other films in a minute. Stars Ansel Elgort and Rachel Zegler, who's I believe is a bit of a newcomer. I think she actually auditioned online, kind of doing that kind of thing. Apparently she's a talented singer, so I guess what else do you need? They have this in a Prime Award slot coming out on the 60th anniversary of the original film on December 10th. And our final nominee in this category, Godzilla vs. Kong. I just saw the synopsis I copied for this. It's like 5 lines long. It's all in the title. Godzilla fights Kong. Humans are there to wreck your enjoyment of the movie. Those humans are played by Alexander Skarsgård, Millie Bobby Brown returns from Godzilla King of the Monsters, and Rebecca Hall. The film is directed by Anna Wingard, who made The Guest and Death Note. It's written by Max Borenstein, who has done a lot of the previous MonsterVerse films, and co-written by Eric Pearson, who's done a lot of the Marvel films. March 26th, coming to cinemas and HBO Max. Few notes on that. If you want to make this a drinking game, drink every time you hear HBO Max, drink every time you hear Disney Plus, and every time you hear Lin-Manuel Miranda. It says a lot about Lin-Manuel Miranda, to be honest. Aside from that, in 2 weeks, I'll be talking about HBO Max in a bit more detail. So stick around for that, come back for that. I'm not going to go through the whole synopsis. Wasn't that a lot easier? It's like 5 lines long. And it's just like, they think the world would be better with just monsters. They're killing the planet. I think that was the plot of the last Godzilla movie. I don't really remember. All right. I'm going to whittle these down to what I think might be decent, to what I think isn't going to work, etc. Okay? Right. First thing I want to say is that Cruella, I'm not buying it, mate. Here's why. They're just going to try and make Cruella into a sympathetic villain. Especially the fact that she now has an antagonist. They're going to be like, oh, this poor Cruella, she went too far. It's a woman who skinned dogs. I don't care what happened to her. Skinning. Not only was she going to skin dogs, she was going to skin 101 dogs. Just for one coat, apparently. And not only that, 99 of those dogs were puppies. So yeah, not buying it, mate. I don't care about her story. You know what? Unless the story is basically, she's a total bitch and she's in prison forever. Bye. I don't care. I don't want to see an origin of her Cruella. It's totally unnecessary. Jungle Cruise. I've seen 2 trailers for this. The only thing that interests me about it is that apparently Metallica are re-recording some of their music for it. I think just nothing else matters. It might be the only one. Aside from that, trailers are nothing for me. It just looked like a kind of bland action movie, to be honest. It's the kind of thing where 2 of those films are Disney, the 2 we just mentioned. I can see Cruella going to Disney Plus. Jungle Cruise might be too expensive to go to Disney Plus, but I just have no real interest in it. Cinderella. Again, 3D musical movies just feel like a bygone relic at this stage. I have no interest in that at all. Aside from that, I mean, it could be decent, but we've just seen Cinderella a million times. Why do we need to see it again? My Little Pony. I'm not a brony. Moving on. I have no interest in seeing it. I've heard it. My Little Pony might be good. I'm not going to start there. West Side Story. Aside from the fact that the novelty of Spielberg directed musical, because I don't believe he's done one before, I don't know if this story needs to be told. I mean, let's be honest. I'd call everything old as new again. No story is older than this because it's West Side Story based on the musical from 60 years ago, based on the actual stage musical, based on Romeo and Juliet. Come on, we know where it's going. Now, our last 2 are where it gets interesting. Candyman is a pretty good film, in my opinion. Or it looks to be a pretty good film, I should say. It was interesting enough that I actually went out and bought the original Candyman, which I'd never seen. I think this could look good. The first trailer that we got, and I believe maybe even the only trailer, looked like it had some style and panache to it. And as much as I mock those kind of soft reboots, I think it could be good. Godzilla vs. Kong, a pure spectacle of Godzilla facing Kong, which I should say the reason it's everything old is new again. Obviously, we've had a lot of King Kong films. Obviously, we've had a lot of Godzilla films. We've literally had Godzilla vs. Kong, except I think it was called King Kong vs. Godzilla from Toho. So, with all that said, we're going to carry on. What is our winner going to be? 7 nominees. The winner of Everything Old is New Again, Godzilla versus Kong. Honorable mention goes to Candyman. To be honest, if we could be totally transparent here, I forgot to add this into the category originally. And at that point, Candyman had won. So I feel bad for Candyman, but for me, I'm excited by Godzilla vs. Kong. I make this mistake every time, to be honest, because I've basically like, hey, this monster movie looks good, and I'm always let down by it. I didn't like the first Godzilla movie they made. I didn't like Godzilla King of Monsters. Hopefully this won't be different. Last year, the winner of this category was Ghostbusters Afterlife. Ghostbusters Afterlife is now in a different category, the sequel category. Also in this category last year was The Invisible Man, Mulan, and Call of the Wild, which all were released. Candyman and Jungle Cruise are holding over. If I had to give it to a film from last year, I'd probably give it to Invisible Man. But forget about the award winners last year. This is about the award winners this year. Godzilla vs. Kong is our first winner. Everything old is new again. And what's even more exciting is we scored a big guest to accept the award for this. And I'm not going to lie, I don't even think they need an introduction. Ladies and gentlemen, here to accept the Everything Old is New Again award winner, God-fucking-Zilla. Ladies and gentlemen, Godzilla, congratulations. Kong, it's not what it looks like, okay? Gentlemen, you bought the award is both. You settled down here. Okay? Settle it. Who double booked them? Jesus Christ, man. It's called Godzilla versus Kong. It's not Godzilla and Kong BFF. Why would you book them both on the one show? What amateur... Right. I'm not going to get mad. It's the first award. That is amateur stuff, dude. Jesus Christ. Okay, hopefully things will go better for our next awards. As much as we give shit to other award ceremonies, and rightfully so, because most of them are pretty damn boring, let's instead give a bit of praise to the films that'll probably win awards next year. This award is the Award Goes To Award. This is an award for films that we think might have a chance at award season. Now, obviously, everything is covered here. Judas and the Black Messiah. There's other films in other categories is what I mean that could win awards as well. Judas and the Black Messiah, Nomadland. Next nominee is Respect, or should I say R-E-S-P-E-C-T. Dune. Space stuff. Wow. The Last Duel. That's like Duel, D-U-U-E-L. And finally, One Night in Miami. Well, those are our nominees. Let's talk through them. First of all, as I said, this doesn't mean that I don't think any other films nominated to win awards. These are just 6 that I think might, be a good fit for that. So, I also want to say that this is the only category where I've actually seen one of the films, which I'll get into in a sec. So, same as we did before, I'm going to go through all 6 nominees. Which one I think, again, we kind of messed around with this before as far as what the actual winner of this award means. Does this the film that I think is most likely to win the awards? Is the film I want to see most? It's the film I want to see most this time. Not the one I think will win awards. Last year, oh boy, we had nominees. These were our nominees last year. We had In the Heights, was never released. It's in another category further on. Trial of Chicago 7 was released. Again, we don't know what's going on with award season at the moment. It's kind of all over the place. We'd probably have a better idea in a usual year. Now we don't know. Apparently it got pretty good reviews. King Richard, not released in one of our other categories. West Side Story, we just talked about it, was not released this year. News of the World, it got released, seemingly pretty good. Could get some love in award season maybe. The Last Duel is in this category again this year. And for some reason, I gave it to a film called Worth, but I also made a note here that I also said Worth, but I don't care. Worth was like a film about like a lawsuit about 9/11. It got a bit of buzz. It just seemed like a dry award film that people would love. But hey, regardless, let's go through our nominees this time. We have 6 nominees, starting with Judas and the Black Messiah. In the late 1960s, petty criminal William O'Neill agrees to work as an informant for the FBI in order to take down the Black Panther Party chairman, Fred Hampton. Pretty interesting story. Directed by Shaka King, who is mostly known for his TV work, this stars Daniel Kaluuya and Lakeith Stanfield, and is produced by Ryan Coogler. It's coming to cinemas apparently in February 12th, but most importantly, especially if you're playing the drinking game, it comes to HBO Max February 12th. So yeah, a lot of films come to HBO Max this year. So keep an eye on that. Also, I said HBO Max about 3 or 4 times there, so get drinking. Nomadland. I'm annoyed because this is actually a film I was meant to see. It was meant to play the Cork Film Festival in my locality, but the film got pushed online and they didn't have it online. They only were going to have it in person, which is such a shame. But regardless, the film follows a person who, after losing everything in the Great Recession, a woman embarks on a journey through the American West, living as a van-dwelling modern-day nomad. Hence the name, I guess. This is directed and written by Chloe Zhao, who made The Rider and soon to release, presumably, hopefully, Marvel's Eternals. It's based on the book by Jessica Bruder. This stars Frances McDormand. It's hotly tipped for Oscar glory this year. Reception to it has just been really, really impressive. It won the Golden Lion at Venice last year. That was won by the Joker, or just Joker, I guess. So that should tell you. It's won all sorts of other awards, and it's topped a lot of critics' top 10. So definitely one that could probably, in my opinion, be the most likely to win some awards. But then again, the rest of them aren't out yet, so it's hard to call. Well, one of them is, as we get to. This is meant to get a general theatrical release, but it's also on Hulu on the same day on February 19th. So I don't know what that means for non-American audiences. Disney are meant to launch Star shortly after Hulu, so it could be there. We don't know. But regardless, it will be on release February 19th. Next film is Respect. And as I said, it could be called R-E-S-P-E-C-T because this is a biographical film about Aretha Franklin starring Jennifer Hudson and Forrest Whitaker. It's directed by Liesl Tommy, who's best known for their theatre work, from a script by Tracy Scott Wilson, who's best known for writing episodes of The American Show. This comes out on August 13th, so we'll have to wait and see. Again, could go through my logic on a few of these, why I think they'll win awards. June follows Leto Atreides, son of a noble family entrusted with the protection of the most valuable asset and most vital elements in the galaxy, spice. A drug which extends human life, provides superhuman levels of thought, and makes faster than light travel possible. This is directed by Denis Villeneuve, who gave us Blade Runner 2049, Sicario, a load of other great films that never seem to do particularly well. I get the feeling I nominated June last year in a film most likely to bomb. I can't really remember. I got rid of that category this year because it seems kind of mean when every film is opening in like 6 cinemas and then going to streaming. It's kind of rude to be like, hey, you bombed. But anyway, it's based on, of course, the classic sci-fi novel by Frank Herbert, and the ensemble cast, just to name a few, it's Timothée Chalamet, Oscar Isaac, Josh Brolin, Zendaya, Jason Momoa. Now, this is meant to come out October 1st in theaters. It's currently apparently meant to come to HBO Max. Drink up. The big debate is whether it actually will get there because Denis Villeneuve does not want it to go there. While Legendary has been fighting, they did settle with Gaza vs. Khan. They apparently haven't settled to this. That might be because he does not want it to go to HBO Max. He wanted to go to theaters because he's a big proponent for the theatrical experience. Regardless, we'll move on to the next film and discuss that in a minute. The Last Duel. Which is actually filming here in Ireland. That's why Matt Damon was here during the lockdown. So he brought Matt Damon to our shores. Is Matt Damon here? No? Oh, no. Sorry, he's filming elsewhere. Sorry. He's actually in Australia at the moment filming Thor Love and Thunder, I believe. He did text me and tell me he regretted he couldn't be here. But, maybe he'll get a voice message. I don't know. Matt Damon. That was just me that time. I'll be honest. At that time, it was me, not the other time. King Charles VI declares that Knight Jean de Carouge, that I just butchered the French name, settle his dispute with his squire by challenging him to a duel. This is based on a true story, inspired by the book by Eric Yeager. The film is a reteaming of Ben Affleck and Matt Damon, which, in case you need a bit of Hollywood history, nearly 25 years ago, they won the best original screenplay for Good Will Hunting. This is only their second collaboration on a script. Now, that being said, they're all joined by Nicole Holofcener. I butchered a real person's name. Well, they're both real, I guess. I butchered a comparatively normal name compared to a French name. I have no excuse that time. Sorry, Nicole. She wrote Can You Ever Forgive Me? So, aside from Affleck and Damon, it also stars Adam Driver and Jodie Comer. Ridley Scott is directing this one, set to come out October 15th. And our last one, a fictionalized account of one incredible night where icons Muhammad Ali, Malcolm X, Sam Cooke, and Jim Brown gathered discussing their roles in the civil rights movement and civil upheaval of the 60s. It's directed by Regina King and written by Ken Powers, based on the stage play of the same name. The reason I'm laughing is this. This film is out. I had no idea it was out, which really speaks to the marketing. It's currently streaming on Amazon Prime, came out January 15th. I implore you to watch it. It is an excellent film. I'm not going to go into a big review because we don't have time. It's going to be a long show anyway. A fantastic film. Check it out. Amazon have done a woeful job promoting, in my opinion, but there we go. So those are our 6 nominees. I've already made my thoughts very clear on One Night in Miami, but I'm also going to say it's ineligible because it's already out. And again, this isn't about what film I think is most likely to win awards. This is about what film I think is most likely to actually, be a film I want to see. Judas and Black Messiah, I'm very interested. I think the story is interesting. I think it looks really good. I'm already check out the trailer for it. I'm looking forward to seeing it on HBO Max because I actually have HBO Max. Nomadland, I think, is going to be really good. I'm really excited for it. I'm disappointed I couldn't see it in theaters, but there you go. Respect, not necessarily that interesting. I just don't really love musical biopics, to be honest. Aside from that, we have June. June was actually one I was really excited for last year. Made my top 10 last year, but seeing the trailer, I was honestly a little bit disappointed in it. The Last Duel is one I am interested in, but it's hard to judge how actual good it'll be. That's why my winner is Judas and the Black Messiah. So the award goes to, as we said, Judas and the Black Messiah. I'm looking forward to checking it out when it hits HBO Max in February.
Another one. Another one. Another one. Another one. Another one. And another one. And another one.
Nominees, our biggest category, one of our biggest categories, Top Gun Maverick. Big category, as I said, we have 10 nominees here in this category. One of the biggest categories we have in our award show today. So let's go through them in a little bit more detail, and then we will go into which ones I think are actually going to be any bit decent. So, starting with Top Gun Maverick, after more than 30 years of service as one of the Navy's top aviators, Pete Mitchell, that's right, Maverick's name is Pete Mitchell. Not surprised he goes by Maverick because that's a lame name, dude. He's where he belongs. He's pushing the envelope as a courageous test pilot and dodging the advancement in rank that would ground him. Sequel, obviously, to Top Gun is directed by Joseph Kosinski, who gave us Tron Legacy and Oblivion. Features Tom Cruise returning to the role as Maverick, along with Miles Teller and Jennifer Connelly joining the cast. Val Kilmer also returns as Iceman, coming July 2nd, apparently. It was meant to come out last year, but here we are. Hitman's wife's bodyguard. 4 years after the events of the original film, bodyguard Michael Bryce continues his friendship with assassin Darius Kincaid as they embark on a new adventure to save Sonia, Darius' wife, from new threats. Ryan Reynolds plays Bryce, Samuel L. Jackson plays Darius, and Salma Hayek plays Sonia. Also in the film are Antonio Banderas, Frank Grillo, and Morgan Freeman. This is directed by Patrick Hughes, who gave us the original film, coming out apparently on August 20th. We have an origin story of the G.I. Joe character Snake Eyes, as the title will tell you. There's not really a plot detail, but I don't know what you need to know aside from the title. It's directed by Robert Schwentke, who gave us the Divergent sequels in R.I.P.D. Stars Henry Golding as Snake Eyes, coming out October 22nd. Mission Impossible 7, we don't have a lot of plot details here. It's a 7th film in the series, obviously. It was at first said that they would shoot 7 and 8 back to back. I don't know whether that's happening still because this film has been really hammered by COVID delays. It's again directed and written by Christopher McQuarrie, who gave us the previous 2 entries, 6 and 5. Tom Cruise, Ving Rhames, and Simon Pegg, and Rebecca Ferguson all returned for previous films. Hayley Atwell, Nicholas Hoult, and Pom Clemente also joined the cast. As I said, has really been hammered by COVID delays, but at the moment it's slated to come out November 19th. We have Ghostbusters Afterlife. When a single mom and her 2 kids arrive in a small town, they begin to discover their connection to the original Ghostbusters and the secret legacy their grandfather left behind. A sequel to the original Ghostbusters films and not the 2016-led female reboot. That's not me. That's not me just digging a knife into that back. I'm just saying that's just the way it is. It takes place 30 years later. Directed and co-written by Jason Reitman, who is the son of the original director and writer Ivan Reitman. It joins a cast of young kids. Basically, it's like Finn Wolfhard and a load of other young kids. I can't remember all their names, unfortunately, but they're joined by Paul Rudd and Kerry Coon. A lot of the original cast are also expected for roles. Sigourney Weaver, for example, Annie Potts, and all the original living Ghostbusters. The only one that's not in it, I think, is Rick Moranis. So there you go. Set to come out June 11th. Then we have Space Jam: A New Legacy, when basketball champion and global icon LeBron James and his young son, Brony? Is he excited for the My Little Pony movie? He dreams of being a video game developer are trapped in a virtual space by rogue algorithm named Algorithm. LeBron must get them home safe by leading Bugs Bunny, Daffy Duck, Porky Pig, Lola Bunny, and the whole gang of notoriously undisciplined Looney Tunes to victory over the Algae's digitized champions on the court. Obviously, it's a sequel to the 96 film. Algae is played by oh god, I didn't write this down. I know I'm freaking out. Don Cheadle. I was going to say War Machine. LeBron obviously plays himself. So yeah, directed by Malcolm D. Lee, who gave us Night School and Girls Trip. Strangely enough, it's produced and co-written by Ryan Coogler. We got a tiny bit of footage this week when they promoted it, going to HBO Max. Drink up. Coming to cinemas and HBO Max apparently on July 16th. Matrix 4 is directed by Lana Wachowski. One half of the directing team of the original trilogy is also co-writing the film with novelist David Mitchell and Alexander Hemmon. Don't know any plot details, but we do know that it'll feature the return of Keanu Reeves and Carrie-Anne Moss, with Yahya Abdul-Mateen II and Neil Patrick Harris among those joining the cast. December 22nd in cinemas and HBO Max. Glug glug. No Time to Die is the 25th installment of the canon James Bond franchise. In other words, not the outside ones. It's like 2 unofficial ones. I'm not going to get into that now. 5 years after the capture of Ernst Stavro Blofeld, James Bond has left active service. He is approached by Felix Leiter, his friend and CIA officer, who enlists his help in the search for Valdo Obrovich, a missing scientist. This is a long synopsis, dude. When it becomes apparent that Obrovich has been abducted, Bond must confront a villain whose schemes could see the deaths of millions. Directed by Kerry Joji Fukunaga and written by longtime Bond writers Neil Purvis and Robert Wade, with rewrites by Phoebe Waller-Bridge and input from Kerry Fukunaga himself. This is the final outing, as I said, of Craig's Bond. Much of the cast of the previous few films return, including Leah Seydoux, Ray Fiennes, Naomi Harris, and Ben Whishaw. Christoph Waltz returns as Blofeld, and Rami Malek plays our new villain named Safin. Set to come out on April 2nd, or is it long? A lot of rumors saying this is going to be delayed again to the end of the year. We have The King's Man. In the early years of the 20th century, the Kingsman Agency is formed to stand against a cabal plotting a war to wipe out millions. Third Kingsman film. It's also a prequel / spin-off to the other entries. Matthew Vaughn is returning to direct and co-write this film. Our cast includes Ray Fiennes, Gemma Arteta, Rhys Ifans, and Matthew Good. This original date for this was November 9th, 2019. So yeah, long time ago. It's currently stated for March 12th. Last film in this category is F9, also known as Fast and Furious 9, also awfully known as F9, The Fast Saga. The 9th Fast and Furious film, if you ignore the spin-off of Hobbs and Shaw. After the events of the Fate of the Furious, Dominic Toretto and his family must face Dominic's younger brother, Jacob. Jacob spelled with a K, not a pussy C. This is Fast and Furious, bro. He was a deadly assassin who was working with their old enemy Cypher and who holds a personal vendetta against Dominic. Our ensemble cast returns from previous films, except for Statham and The Rock, who have probably had some falling out. They have their own film series now anyway. Inexplicably, Hannah's alive despite being killed in a previous entry. Our villain of Cypher returns as played by Charlize Theron, and Dominic's brother, Jacob, is played by John Cena. Set to come out on May 28th. Now, before I give my thoughts, I had a few people weigh in. Not many, mind you, but I did have some people on Twitter, one of which is a friend of the show, Luke Barry. Check out his couple of podcasts. He's a good buddy, always a good supporter of the show and myself. And my former compatriot, is that the word? Former colleague, probably a better word, on the Phoenix Wrestling Network, may it rest in peace, who expressed a bit of interest here in Space Jam, which I'm not going to lie. It's one of the ones that would be towards the top of my list if we were ranking these. It's one that I think is very interesting. I'll get into why in a minute. Another person who joined in on Twitter is the Queen of Irish Wrestling, a host, or co-host, I guess, of the Low Blows Wrestling podcast. Check it out on the Low Blows Network. She is very interested in Matrix 4. That is Katie Harvey, which, wow, that's pretty cool that she weighed in. And Matrix 4, I don't know if we have the same thoughts on Matrix 4. We definitely have some thoughts on some of the other films you mentioned, which we'll get back to. Okay, let's start eliminating some of these. No Time to Die. This was in my top 10 last year. It's not anymore. Because this is one of those films where they've waited too long, they promoted it too much. And this is something you're going to notice more and more, is the marketing during these uncertain times, this COVID lockdown stuff. No Time to Die, if they'd put out one trailer and then said, right, we're delayed, I would have forgotten about it. And that's fine. The general rule for marketing for films is 90 days. Talk 3 months, okay? So basically, yeah, if a film is coming out February or March, it's not. unless it's especially a massive movie anyway. So No Time to Die, they kept putting out trailers for this. I don't know why, and it's really honestly sat my interest out because I was sick of hearing about it. At this stage, the only enjoyment I could get is actually seeing the film, which isn't possible at the moment. So because of that, it's kind of fallen down my list, which is a shame because this time last year, I had not seen all the Bond films. This time, this year, in present moment, I have, because I'm going to review them for my YouTube channel. So like and subscribe, bitches. Top Gun Maverick. I saw the first Top Gun film during lockdown. It's actually a bit of fun and enjoyable. But again, I do think they marked it a bit much. Less so than Bond, in my opinion. But I don't know. It just doesn't really appeal to me. It looks okay. It just really feels like, hey, what does Tom Cruise want to do? Ride bikes in lanes? Sure, let him do it. Grant. Now, on the other hand, speaking of Tom Cruise, Mission Impossible 7 is also a pretty Tom Cruise film. But I think this is a series that really surprisingly has got better as it has gone on. Except for, the first one was decent, the second one was terrible. But since then, it's been on a consistent track. In fact, I would say Mission Impossible Fallout, in my opinion, is one of the best action movies in recent memory. So that's what I'm pretty interested in. On the other hand, something like Snake Eyes G.I. Joe Origins, I do not understand the logic of this at all. Like, it's been 2013 was the last G.I. Joe movie. And it did fine. Now they're doing a spin-off 7 years later to be like, hey, remember Snake Eyes? Now I know he's one of the more popular G.I. Joe characters, whatever that means, but it's just a bit of an odd choice. I don't fully get it, if I'm honest. But regardless, that's just my opinion. The King's Man is another one that I think at this point, it's like gone into New Mutants territory where it's been delayed and promoted so many times that I sort of just lost interest. I didn't particularly like Kingsman 2. I like that this is something fresh and new, but it's hard to get excited at this point about Kingsman. I think it's one of those movies that is likely going to go to, well, not a Disney Plus, a Hulu in America. I think it would be a very strong one to launch Star. When that launches internationally, it's a new hub on Disney, as I mentioned earlier. Ghostbusters Afterlife is one I'm more excited than I should be because, Ghostbusters 2016 wasn't very good in my opinion. And to be honest, Ghostbusters has worked fantastically once. His second one is okay. Like, I like the second one, but a lot of people don't. Whether or not this one could actually deliver is really, really questionable. But regardless, I like the trailer and I'm excited to kind of go back into this world with the original cast a bit more, presumably reprising those roles. Then we come to The Matrix 4. And this is another one where I'm like, the sequels might have ruined this for me. I love the first Matrix. I have not even been able to finish the sequels. I finally finished the second one. It sucked. I fell asleep the first 2 times to try to watch it. I've never watched the third one. And this time you're only bringing back half the people that made it special. And the question is it even worth going back to? So I don't know about this. I hope it's good. I have my fingers crossed. I'd love if it was good. I hope it can be as revolutionary as the first one was. But fingers crossed for that it is pretty good. For myself, at least, and also for Katie Harvey. Space Jam: A New Legacy, which our buddy Luke Barry has interest in. I also have a lot of interest in this. The main reason I have interest in is the rumors. The rumors, I guess, cover your ears, is not confirmed, that it's going to dive into the Warner Brothers library of characters, not just Looney Tunes, the likes of Wizard of Oz, The Mask, some of the DC characters, all that stuff. That is interesting to me. The snippet of footage we got was very brief, but I kind of like the look of it too. Hitman's Wife Bodyguard. I like the Hitman's Wife. Not Salma Hayek, although I do like her as well. Do you see her? I better not. No, she's definitely not here. I wouldn't, I definitely wouldn't want to make it sound like she was here. That would be a cancelable offense. No, I thought that was a kind of fun, enjoyable movie. I can't say I was clamoring for a sequel, and neither am I clamoring, to go see this. But again, it's probably one I'll watch and be like, hey, it's pretty good. But again, not what I'm like massively excited for. I don't know if anyone would be really. Fast 9, the Fast Saga. Right. The Fast and Furious movies are the stupidest thing ever. They've gotten stupider as they went on and also better. They're awful. I'm just saying this now. This is my big disclaimer. They're awful movies. I watched the trailer for Fast 9 again. It came out about this time last year. And I watched it again for going through this and I just laughed my fucking ass off, man. It's like, the physics make no sense. There's a car driving up a rope bridge that's falling, which isn't how bridges work. It's not how cars work. At one point, Vin Diesel drives over a rope and just Tarzan's his car, which also makes no sense. Which is like, is that even him being a good driver? Like, he couldn't have known that was going to happen. And apparently, to top all off this stupid stuff, John Cena is like, I'm your brother. Which, like, this guy, like Vin Diesel can't go 10 minutes. Oh, by the way, Vin Diesel is now a farmer. this big kind of gangster from the city is like, I'm a farmer. See him like souping up a tractor. I'm not joking. This is in the trailer. This guy who's always like, it's about family, la familia, it's all about family. Is like, oh, by the way, I have a brother I never mentioned. Oh, I love these awful films. And to top all this stupidity off, they're apparently going to space in this one because they have rocket cars. Oh, anyway, it's a tough category. There are a lot of films here. There's 10 films here. There's some I am genuinely interested in, but let's figure out what is the winner of the DJ Khaled Award for sequels. The winner is Ghostbusters Afterlife. This is the second win for Ghostbusters, which previously won for Everything Old is New Again. What can I say about this? I'm more excited for this than I should be. I sort of expect to be disappointed, if I'm quite honest. But all the same, I mean, I can't honestly, like, I will go get a bit personal here. And I think this is why I maybe have a bit of a blind spot with this movie, when I really shouldn't. One of my earliest memories is sitting at a babysitter's watching the Ghostbusters climb through the Marshmallow Man, Stay Puft, at the end of the movie. That's one of my earliest memories. And it's one of those films that I've loved as long as I can remember. And even now, I can still watch it and love it and it holds up. And there's not many films that I've been able to do that with. I was born, after there was Ghostbusters movies. Like Ghostbusters 1 and 2 had already been released by the time I was born. So like, I've been waiting for a Ghostbusters 3, a real Ghostbusters 3 my whole life. And if this gets me any bit closer to that, then I'm pretty damn excited. But is it going to be any good? I don't know. Even more exciting is that we have someone to accept this award too. I don't think we have many people to accept awards, but we do have one for this one. And ladies and gentlemen, it is the Ghost from Ghostbusters. Where is he? Thank you for joining us, Mr. Ghost.
For this award, I'd like to say thank
Boo. No, that was the Ghost from Ghostbusters, was it? Yeah. What Ghost from Ghostbusters was that? Slimer? The one from the logo? Wow. What an official award show this is. The Ghost from Ghostbusters just called it. That could have been any ghost. Assuming ghosts are real, which apparently they are, considering you just gave one an award. Could have been the Ghost from The Conjuring. Oh, what a farce. Thank Boo. You didn't even give a speech. What a terrible joke. Oh, this award show is a shambles. Anyway, let's continue on with this farce with the As Seen on TV Award. This is an award for films that, of course, were adapted from TV shows because they were seen on TV. They have been seen on TV. First is The Many Saints of Newark, adapted from The Sopranos television series. Bob's Burgers, the movie. Anytime you see the movie, it just means it's adapted from that. Paw Patrol, the movie. Guess what? It's based on Paw Patrol, the series. Jackass number 4, from Jackass, the TV series. 4 nominees. This is one of our smaller categories, thank God, because some of those ones are long in the tooth and we need a bit of a break. Starting off first with Bob's Burgers. Okay. This is based on the anime series, obviously. It's written and directed by Lauren Bouchard, who created the show. We don't really have any further details. Now, apparently he said there'll be a lot of music in the film. It'll have some flashbacks, like how Louise got her bunny ears hat. He's also said the animation is apparently better and has a different style. This is all rumored, by the way. Other people have said, they saw a behind the scenes thing. And yeah, it's the same animation. My big worry with this, and I believe this was also nominated last year. Yes, it was, in fact. Last year, our nominees were Bob's Burgers, The Many Saints of Newark, Fantasy Island, and A Practical Jokers, the movie. Two of those were released. I think I gave the award to Many Saints of Newark last year. But obviously that wasn't released, so I guess they give it to Practical Jokers. I thought that movie was pretty decent. So, yeah, my big concern then and my big concern now is what makes this cinematic? When you're adapting an animated series into a movie, like what makes this a story that can't be told on a small screen? And to be honest, as much as The Simpsons kind of felt like a movie, I don't think that they necessarily nailed it either. And with Bob's Burgers, the animation style kind of has a simple charm to it. Is that going to be lost in the adaptation to a movie? I don't know. I like Bob's Burgers, the series. I'm actually watching through it at the moment. I'm kind of trying to get up to date on it. I don't know if this needs to be a movie. Now, my understanding is this seems like a movie that was basically forgotten by Disney now that they bought Fox. At one stage, it was on the slate and they forgot about it. And then they'd be like, it's still coming out. The creator really wants a cinema release. I would imagine Disney probably don't, to be honest. I think they'd be happy to just dump it on Disney Plus or whatever. But regardless, that's Bob's Burgers and Movies. Next one we should talk about is The Many Saints of Newark, set in the explosive 1960s in the era of Newark riots, when the African American and Italian communities are often at each other's throats. Among the gangsters within each group, the dangerous rivalry becomes especially lethal. This is, of course, a prequel, in fact, it's set in the 60s, to the Sopranos TV series. It does feature many of the characters who appear, though, and are alluded to in the series. So, for example, our lead is Dickie Moltisanti, Chris Moltisanti's father. It's directed by Alan Taylor, who's directed Terminator Genisys and Thor: The Dark World, but more importantly, directed quite a few episodes of the Sopranos TV series. Some really good episodes of it as well, to be fair, even though his film output has been... we have, of course, series creator David Chase on board, who co-writes the script with Lawrence Connor, who also wrote for the series. In our cast, we have Alessandro Nivola, Leslie Odom Jr., John Bernthal, Vera Farmiga, and Michael Gandolfini plays the role his father made famous of Tony Soprano. Of course, James Gandolfini passed away. He played Tony Soprano. Now his son is taking on the mantle, which is pretty cool. It is coming to cinemas on September 24th and HBO Max. Drink up. Paw Patrol the movie. I've never seen Paw Patrol. It's like Dogs with Jobs. That'd be a better name. It's not Paw Patrol, it's Dogs with Jobs. Ryder and the pups are called to Adventure City to stop Mayor Humdinger from turning the bustling metropolis into a state of chaos. Get ready for exciting missions, high-stake rescues, new pups, and amazing new vehicles, making this the biggest Paw Patrol story ever. No city is too small, no pup is too small, if you say so. Kim Kardashian's in it. So is Tyler Perry and Jimmy Kimmel and Dak Shepard. So whatever that means to you. August 20th. Maybe your kids will enjoy it. I don't know. Last one in this category is Jackass 4, the fourth theatrical movie in the series based on the MTV show Discounting the Bad Grandpa spin-off. It features Johnny Knoxville, Steve Obama, Jerry, and the rest of the cast performing stunts and pranks. I mean, you know what to expect by now. It's the fourth Jackass movie. It's called Jackass. What more do you expect, baby? The film marks the first entry without Ryan Dunn. It's now over a decade since the last film. So the guys are getting up there in age a bit. There's no plot or details on stunts, except that Steve-O and Knoxville were apparently injured and hospitalized for jumping on a treadmill at full speed while holding band equipment, which, hey, could have happened to any of us. It comes out September 3rd, apparently. Now, before I get into my opinion on all these films, I will say Katie Harvey, again, the queen of Irish wrestling, did chime in because I shamed her into a lot of these nominees because I called her a hipster. Because she only mentioned one category she voted in, so I shamed her into voting them. So there you go. Thanks for that, Katie. Sorry I nearly called you a hipster, but just so you know, I really saved you the hassle, because being branded a hipster by this podcast is like a death sentence. I mean, there's no hipsters in Ireland, because if I call you a hipster, they ship you in a container to Brooklyn. That's why there's so many hipsters in Brooklyn. They got shipped out of here, put to Brooklyn. So thankfully, she added a few more votes. One of which is Jackass 4. Her Low Blows colleague, why do I keep saying compatriot? Also, I asked this question to their podcast and Asked Low Blows. As I said, check it out. Katie Harvey, Corporate Keane, and Rick Nash. Really love that podcast. Very well checking out. Even if you're not a wrestling fan, Ask Low Blows is a lot of fun. I asked them basically what films they were excited for, and I basically stealing their answers from that for my podcast. So, I don't know. Don't sue me if that's possible. Corporate Keane also voted for Jackass 4. Rick voted for Marvel, the MCU, Return to the MCU in general, which we'll definitely get to when it comes to TV series. But yeah, do I agree with them though? Let's see. So let me talk about Bob's Burgers. As I said, I don't know what you can do to make this cinematic. And I don't know if it's worthy of a movie. That doesn't mean I don't think it'll be good. I just don't know, is it going to really feel like, yes, we need this movie. Paw Patrol the movie, I've never seen Paw Patrol. I've heard it's decent. I'm sure kids love it. I mean, I'm a 28-year-old man. So, yeah, it goes without saying, I'm not excited for the Paw Patrol movie. Maybe there's some sort of brony equivalent of Paw Patrol. How many times have we mentioned bronies in the show? New rule, if I mention bronies, you have to take a drink. The Many Saints of Newark, I'm a big fan of Sopranos, and I'm quite excited for this. The only reason my excitement for this is actually dimmed is the Breaking Bad movie, which I thought was fine. I'm kind of wondering, will it just be another case of this was cool supplementary material that was not entirely necessary. But I have mentioned on the podcast before that I'm a massive fan of Jackass, which I think is, I don't know, is that surprising? But it's true. I'm a massive fan of Jackass. So the only concern I have is, again, guys are getting old. Kind of concerned. But hopefully it goes well. All that said, except for Paw Patrol, a lot of these movies I will be seeing. I'm quite interested in seeing them. But only one of them can win the As Seen on TV award. So which one is it going to be? The winner is Jackass 4. The winner of the As Seen on TV Award 2021, Jackass number 4. Congratulations to Knoxville and all the lads. Probably the only award Jackass is ever going to win, although it was nominated for Best Makeup for Grandpa. You know, just flexing my knowledge there, see? You know. Anyway, congrats on the lads on winning the awards. We're going to go straight into our next category. We need a bit of a break from movies. Okay, we've done a lot of movie awards already. Let's just take a wee bit of a break and talk about video games. Which brings us to our next category. Games we're so excited for, they'll probably be delayed forever. Dun dun dun. Nominees for this category are Deathloop, God of War. Some people are calling God of War Ragnarok. At the moment, it's just God of War sequel. Ghostwire Tokyo, Gotham Knights, Halo Infinite, Hogwarts Legacy. Actually, this one is going to be disallowed because it has been delayed already. It got delayed while I made up this category. In between making this category and in between me doing this podcast, it got delayed. So just further proof that, you know, I'm psychic. I'm pretty good at what I do. So yeah, it got delayed along with quite a few other games are likely to get delayed this year because of COVID. But we'll ignore that for now and we'll go through these games, whether they're worth getting excited for. Last year, nominated for this, we had Avengers, Cyberpunk 2047, The Last of Us Part 2, and Doom Eternal. Now, just to be very clear, I talk mostly about films. The reason I don't talk about games is because they do get delayed so often. The ones I pick are the games I think are, you know, more likely to come out. I could talk about 40 games and some of them might fall off the radar. So I basically just do one gaming category. Now, the thing is, as I mentioned, the winner last year was The Last of Us Part 2, which I quite enjoyed. Going through the rest of that list, I have Doom Eternal, I haven't played it yet. Cyberpunk 2047, people would wish that was delayed because it basically wasn't finished. Avengers, people didn't like it. So yeah, I stand by my winner from last year. This year though, we have Deathloop, which is developed by Arcane Studios, who gave us the Dishonored series, and it's published by Bethesda. An assassin is caught in a deadly time loop on an island full of enemies. In order to succeed, he'll have to die again. The gameplay in this looks quite reminiscent of Dishonored with a bit more of an arcadey feel, kind of remind me of Bulletstorm personally. Set to be released on PS5 and Windows on a timed 1-year exclusivity on May 21st. I swear, I wasn't picking sides here with consoles, but it did seem like a lot of the games coming out were a PlayStation. I think that's going to change coming into the new generation, to be honest, because it looks like Microsoft are making a big play for some first-party exclusives. God of War Ragnarok, as I said, I said that really weird. This is unconfirmed as a title, but that's what it's been called because, of course, it's Norse mythology, and I think the trailer said Ragnarok is coming. This is developed again by Santa Monica Studios and published by Sony, a direct sequel to the massively acclaimed God of War 2018, which saw the series move to Norse mythology instead of Greek as it had been previously. Ragnarok, of course, is the events that lead to the end of days, so it's expected to arrive in 2021. We don't have a fixed date. Maybe that means it'll be delayed. PS5 is confirmed. No confirmation of it's going to be on PS4 as well. There's a lot of controversy about that because they basically said, hey, we're going to support PS4 until 2022. And they're like, oh, God of War is coming out in 2021. Awesome. And they're like, well, you know, we'll see. Ghostwire Tokyo is our next game. This is a massive paranormal event that causes the sudden disappearance of 99% of the population of wild spirits from Japanese folklore storm Tokyo. Players will harness paranormal abilities to solve the mystery of the disappearances and save the city. Developed by Tango Gameworks, who gave us the Evil Within series. And it seems to be kind of playing like a first-person shooter with some sort of paranormal superpowers. It's published by Bethesda. Again, we have another timed year exclusive on PS5 and Windows. The thing is, Bethesda, or ZeniMax Media, I believe their parent company, has been bought by Microsoft. They said they're going to honor all these exclusives, so they will come to other consoles in a little bit after that. Gotham Knights, the plot of which Batman is dead and it is now up to the Batman family, Batgirl, Nightwing, Red Hood and Robin to protect Gotham City, bring hope to its citizens, discipline to its cops, and fear to its criminals. Badass. You must evolve into the new Dark Knight and save Gotham from chaos. They battle the Court of Owls and Mr. Freeze, among others in the game. We haven't seen any other confirmation of villains. It's an action RPG with 4 of those characters being playable. Each character has their own unique ability, drop-in, drop-out multiplayer, with vehicles as well. Developed by WB Games Montreal, who made Arkham Origins, and published by Warner Bros. Interactive Entertainment. It's coming to Windows, Xbox, and PlayStation consoles, current and previous generations. So everything, basically. Apparently coming this year, no fixed date. Halo Infinite is one that will, of course, only come to Microsoft consoles. This is basically following the story of being found adrift in space. Spartan 117, the Master Chief, once again is called into action. A rogue faction separate from the Covenant called the Banished have taken control over a Halo installation. The Chief is tasked with stopping them from total conquest and keeping their ruthless leader, Atriox, from exacting his tyrannical will on humanity and their allies. It's Halo 6. We know what to expect by now. It's coming to Microsoft platforms, developed by 343 Studios, and of course published by Xbox Game Studios, expected late 2021. Hogwarts Legacy, as I said, got delayed to 2022, so it's ineligible for this award. I'm not even going to waste my time talking about it. Now, let's go through these very quickly. Gotham Knights. A lot of people were kind of a bit disappointed in the reveal for this because they were hoping for kind of another Arkham game. This looks very different in tone. Personally, I think it looks quite good, but I'm not massively excited for it. So, kind of comes and goes. I think it could be good. It's hard to call. It's very different to the Arkham games. Well, I love the Arkham games. Ghostwire Tokyo looks very interesting. Could be good. Not sold on the gameplay for it, I will say, but it looks like a very interesting concept, and it looks like a good horror game, which we think we really kind of need some new blood in that department. God of War, we haven't seen any footage of it. I haven't played the 2018 one, but apparently it was fantastic. More of the same of an excellent game. That's nothing wrong with that. Halo Infinite, there was some criticism about this, the way it looked. It's been delayed quite a bit. There has been apparently troubles behind the scenes. We don't know. Deathloop is one I think looks quite fun. I kind of like arcadey kind of stuff like that. The only thing I would be concerned about with that is, when they're like, oh, die and die again, replay. Is that not just when you die in any game and you play back at a checkpoint? I don't know. I'm not sure about the whole central gimmick of it. But nonetheless, what wins our award? An award, or basically, one of these games could be delayed forever. For me, it's Deathloop. The winner this year's games are so excited for, they'll probably be delayed forever. Winner is Deathloop. Again, not entirely sold on how this is going to work, but overall, I think it looks pretty good and pretty unique. Hopefully, at least a little bit different. We're going from video games to video game movies with our next category, the chosen one to break the video game curse. Okay, video game movies. Mortal Kombat is our first nominee. Second nominee, Free Guy. Not strictly based on a video game, but very pivotal to video game culture. Uncharted, based of course on the classic Sony series with Nathan Drake. And Resident Evil, a reboot, not a sequel to the other ones as we get into now. Those are our four categories. Let's go into them in a little bit more detail. So, first off, we're going to talk about Mortal Kombat. This is directed, actually I should say, let me just highlight the mess that we had last year with this category. We had 4 films nominated last year. Monster Hunter, Sonic the Hedgehog, Free Guy, which was just there by default. Not really a video game movie, as I said, technically, but it's pretty video gamey. And Uncharted. Uncharted got delayed. Free Guy was there by default. Monster Hunter and Sonic were the only 2 that came out. I didn't have any of them. I gave it to Free Guy by default. Sonic the Hedgehog should have won. Probably. Because 2 movies came out. Sonic the Hedgehog was actually pretty good. Right, so Mortal Kombat is directed by Simon McQuaid in his directorial debut. His most notable work is he did a lot of ads. One of those ads was an ad for PlayStation 3, which was like a For the Players ad. I think it was called To Michael, where all these characters were basically in a bar reciting it. But that's probably his most reputable one. Written by David Callahan, who we'll get to. He's basically wrote Zombieland Double Tap, and he is also writing Shang-Chi. And Greg Russo, who's written a lot of video game adaptations, seemingly, and is basically going to write every video game movie ever. So hopefully this is good. It's produced by James Wan. The film, of course, adapts the fighting series Mortal Kombat. The 3rd time it has been done in a feature. We got our plot for this, which is really, really long. So I'm not going to bother reading it. It's sort of the plot of Mortal Kombat. The big thing that is giving a lot of people pause, because the synopsis for this just got released like this week, along with some images you want to check out. Now, the images look pretty good. I assume we'll be getting a trailer quite soon. The thing that a lot of people are giving pause is they created a new character as our protagonist. Whether they just do that as a kind of a way in. I mean, I don't know why you couldn't have done that with an established character, or whether it's just they want to kill him off. I don't know. But apparently we're following an MMA fighter called Cole Young. So that's that. The cast is pretty much unknown. Some of them have some martial art experience, so that's a good thing. Set to come to theaters and HBO Max April 16th. Our next film is Free Guy. This is directed by Sean Levy, who gave us a Night at the Museum series. He also produces Stranger Things. Matt Lieberman and Zach Penn wrote the script, which is about a bank teller who discovers that he's actually an NPC inside a brutal open-world video game. Stars Ryan Reynolds, Jodie Comer, and Taika Waititi. Set for May 21st. Fox, of course, made this, but now it's owned by Disney. Is it going to come out May 21st? Is it going to go to streaming somewhere? Who knows? Uncharted is our next one, based on a popular PlayStation series, of course. It's a prequel to the games with a younger Nathan Drake, showing us details of how he came to meet and befriend Sully. Tom Holland plays Nathan Drake, and Sully will be played by Mark Wahlberg. It's directed by Ruben Fleischer, who gave us Zombieland and Venom, and written by Art Markham and Matt Holloway, whose only credits, with just the two of them are writers, is Men in Black International, which sucked. July 16th for this one. Pretty close to my birthday. So it better be good, because I do love the Uncharted games. Resident Evil, as I said, it's of course based on the horror game series, but it's a reboot of the film series. It's not related to the Paul W.S. Anderson films with Mila Jovovich. It's apparently inspired by the first two games, but it's said to be an origin story of the first game. It's also set in 1998, which is an odd choice. But the broader strokes of the plot are kind of under wraps. It's directed and co-written by Johannes Roberts and Greg Russo, who, as I said, is writing every video game movie ever. It stars Kea Scodelario, Robbie Amell, and Avan Yogia. It was initially set for September 9th of 2021. Now I think it's just now it's just 2021. So who knows really when this film could come out specifically. Okay, right. Uncharted. Again, I don't know if it's going to be any good. I'm not a massive Mark Wahlberg fan. I don't know if he is a good choice for Sully, personally. Again, I like the games. I should say Jesus. Whether or not that's going to transfer into a movie, I honestly don't know. It kind of feels like the games are cinematic enough. I don't know. And again, those writers don't really fill you with confidence when they wrote Men in Black International by themselves when left to their own devices. Free Guy is one that I wanted to like a lot, but the trailers have done nothing for me, so it's pretty disappointing. Resident Evil, I kind of didn't jump into Resident Evil series until the fourth one, to be honest, so the early ones don't necessarily do much for me. Oh, I hit the mic, apologies. Mortal Kombat, I like the Mortal Kombat games. The director's commercial work was quite good, and I like the first look images. I'm not sure about the basically adapting it with a new protagonist. I'm not sure about that. But regardless, what is our winner going to be for the Video Game Movie Award? The one that might break the curse, because video game movies generally kind of suck. The winner, ladies and gentlemen, it's going to be Mortal Kombat for me. Not entirely sold on whether it's going to be any good. Anyway, we better keep it moving. Next award is our biggest category. That is, the award is for the children. Thank you to Old Dirty Bastard from the Wu-Tang Clan for inspiring this name. When he said Wu-Tang is for the children, our first nominee is Clifford the Big Red Dog, followed by Tom and Jerry. Next nominee, Minions: The Rise of Gru, or Minions 2. Raya and the Last Dragon. Flora and Ulysses. Rumble. Vivo is our next nominee. Luca. Pixar film, this one. Next Pixar film coming out is Luca. Hotel Transylvania 4. The Addams Family 2. Encanto. Sing 2. Feels like it was ages ago we got Sing 1, but regardless, these are our nominees. Now, there sure is a lot of them. As I said, this is our biggest film category here. 12 nominees. We're going to do a speed run through this. This is basically what film would you be able to sit through if your kids take it to them. So, Clifford the Big Red Dog, I mean, it's all in the name, people. It was directed by Walt Becker, who gave us Alvin and Chipmunks 4 and Wild Hogs. Live action CGI hybrid inspired by the book by Norman Bridwell, coming out November 5th. Tom and Jerry is based on the classic characters, of course. The story is basically Tom and Jerry are kicked out of their home. Jerry moves into a hotel and Tom is hired to catch him as their big wedding looms at the hotel. It's a live action CGI hybrid directed by Tim Story, who gave us the Ride Along films and Fantastic Four, the first two ones at Fox. Stars Chloe Grace Moretz, Michael Pena, and Kent Jong, among many others. It's coming to coming to theaters in February 26th and also HBO Max. Minions: The Rise of Gru is a sequel to Minions, of course. It's the fifth installment in the Despicable Me series. It's the untold story of one 12-year-old's dream to become the world's greatest supervillain. As you would expect, this is a prequel where we get some of Gru's backstory and his hopes to join the villain supergroup, the Vicious Six. He steals a precious object, he finds himself at odds with the Vicious Six and on the run with the help of the Minions. Coming out 2nd of July. It was meant to come out last year. Raya and the Last Dragon comes from Walt Disney Animation Studios, computer animated, of course, directed by Don Hall and Carlos Lopez Estrada. It's written by Key Nguyen and Adele Lim. In a realm known as Kamandra, a reimagined Earth inhabited by an ancient civilization, a warrior named Raya is determined to find the last dragon. It features the voice of Kelly Marie Tran and Aquafina. We don't know a lot about this one. We only got a trailer not that long ago. Coming out March 5th in cinemas and on Disney Plus Premier Access. They tried this with Mulan. Some people said they were unsuccessful. Will it be better here? Who knows? If it is successful, could we see bigger releases go there? That's the big question. Flora and Ulysses is also coming to Disney Plus. It's a live-action film directed by Lena Khan and based on the book by Kate DiCamillo about a girl named Flora Buckman who adopts a squirrel she names Ulysses, who happens to possess superpowers. It stars Matilda Lawler in the lead, with Alison Hannigan, Ben Schwartz, and Danny Pudi supporting. February 19th on Disney Plus. We have Rumble, which is a computer animated film in a world where giant monsters and humans collide. The monsters are superstar athletes and compete in a popular professional wrestling global sport called Monster Wrestling. A young girl named Winnie seeks to follow in her father's footsteps as a manager by coaching a lovable underdog, yet inexperienced monster named Steve. Winnie plans to turn Steve into a champion so that he can go up against the reigning champion, Tentacular. Directed by Hamish Grieve in his first feature film. As we said, wrestling is a big part of this because of that's a WWE co-production. Which means it features stars such as Roman Reigns from WWE and Becky Lynch. Joined the cast of Will Arnett and Terry Crews, May 14th. Vivo is our next one. Is a computer animated musical film about a kinkajou with a thirst for adventure and a passion for music. He makes a treacherous passage from Havana, Cuba to Miami, Florida in pursuit of his dreams to fulfill his destiny. Directed and co-written by Kirk D'Amico, who made the Croods films. The other writer is Chiara Alegria Hudes, who wrote the book for Lin-Manuel Miranda's In the Heights, along with winning the Pulitzer Prize for her own play, Water by the Spoonful. Originally, this was a film pitched by Lin-Manuel Miranda himself, who will provide 11 songs for the film, set to come out June 4th. As I said, drink if you hear Lin-Manuel Miranda. Luca is Pixar's next film. As mentioned, it's set on the Italian Riviera, and unlikely but strong friendship grows between a human being and a sea monster disguised as a human. This is directed by Enrico Casarosa, a longtime Pixar employee in his feature debut. Written by Mike Jones, who worked on Soul, and Jesse Andrews, the novelist responsible for the novel Me, Earl, and the Dying Girl. It's set to come out June 18th. Hotel Transylvania, no story details here. It's obviously the fourth film in the franchise, directed this time by Derek Dryman and Jennifer Kluska, written by Jendi Tartakovsky, who directed the first three installments, set to come out August 6th. Addams Family 2 is a sequel to the 2019 anime film. We don't know much about this except that Bill Hader is joining the cast this time, set to come out October 8th. Encanto is the second computer animated film with music by Lin-Manuel Miranda this year. It comes from Walt Disney Animation Studios, directed by the same duo who directed Zootopia. The film tells the story of a Colombian girl who grows up as the only member of a non-magical member of her family. She's the only one without magic in the family. In other words, I think I butchered that. November 24th for this one. Last one in this category. As I said, it's a massive category. Thank God we're nearly there. Sing 2, a sequel to the 2016 film, directed again and written by Gareth Jennings. Buster Moon and his friends must persuade reclusive rock star Clay Calloway to join them for the opening of a new show. Much of the original cast returns this time, joined by the likes of Halsey, Eric Andre, and Bono. So, those are our nominees. I want to give a shout out again to Luke Barry, who says that he is all about Encanto here, which I'm not going to lie, Encanto is one of the stronger ones here in my opinion. Haven't seen a lot from it, but the clip looked very interesting and there's a lot of talent involved in it. Katie Harvey, the Queen of Irish Wrestling, also chimed in and stated that she was excited for Minions, which again, hard one to argue against. Let's go through these as far as what I'm interested in seeing, what I have no interest in seeing. So, Sing 2, no thanks, no interest. Never seen the first Sing. Didn't really appeal to me from the look of it. Addams Family, the animation to me is ugly. I thought the first one could be kind of good. Didn't bother with it in the end, so that probably says enough about it. Vivo, sounds kind of interesting, but if I had to pick a Lin-Manuel Miranda film out of the two of them, it'd probably be Encanto. Rumble, I'm a fan of wrestling, and they can't get me interested in it. That's not a good sign for it. Tom and Jerry looks kind of good in my opinion. I don't think it's going to be great, but the fact it's on HBO Max is a good selling point. Minions Rise Gru, I actually saw the first Minions again recently and quite enjoyed it. Raya and the Last Dragon is an interesting one. I feel like they have a lot of interesting possibilities to do some new stuff here. The fact it's going to Disney Plus, I'm not sure if I'm going to be willing to pay the price, but who knows. Clifford the Big Red Dog, no thanks, I get it. He's Clifford, he's big, he's red, he's a dog. I don't need any of that. Thanks very much. Hotel Transylvania 4 is one of those things that should appeal to me, and I've never seen any of them, so it does nothing for me. Luca, we've only seen a little bit of footage here, but it looked quite interesting. It looked like quite a different style to the Pixar that we're used to. Could see myself going to see this one at some point, but all the same, not what I would probably put at the top of the list, but certainly above many of the others in this category. Encanto, as I mentioned, is one I quite like the look of. but I'd love to see more of it before I kind of push it to the moon, as it were. Flora and Ulysses is one that I kind of would have written off from the description, but I saw the trailer for this recently and I actually found it quite charming. So I don't know, I could have some interest in this down the road. But anyway, let us see what is the winner of this category. As I said, this is a massive category, our biggest film category here. 12 nominees. The winner for me is Raya and the Last Dragon. This award is for the children. The winner is Raya and the Last Dragon. Shout out to old dirty bastard, because he said that Wu-Tang Clan was for the children. I think Raya and the Last Dragon is probably more likely to be suitable for children. In my opinion, this just looks quite good. We had one trailer. The trailer looked quite entertaining, and I think there's a certain level of mystery about this film that we don't necessarily get with a lot of them. I think the people behind it have a strong track record, and I would also say it just feels like there's an opportunity to do some new stuff here that we haven't seen in some of their other films. I think we all know kids' films can be a bit insulting to our talents, so let's try class it up a bit with Book 'em Boys. This is an award for adaptations of books that we are seeing this year. Nominees are 6 nominees in this category. Death on the Nile, based on the Agatha Christie book, of course. The White Tiger, which I believe is actually already out in some territories. Infinite, not a lot known about this, but we'll get back to it in a minute, based on the Reincarnationist papers. Deep Water, based on the novel by Patricia Highsmith. The Nightingale, based on the book by Kristen Hanna. It's going to be really awkward when I can't remember the author's name. And Chaos Walking, based on the book by Patrick Ness. I can't believe I got through all those. Okay, so, as we said, Book 'em Boys Award. Books are very popular to adapt every year. 6 nominations this year. There's plenty others that could be nominated, but these are just the 6 we're going to talk about right now. But let's go through them. Some of them are probably pretty mixed anyway. Right. The first one we're going to talk about is Death on the Nile. So, of course, this is a sequel to the 2017 Murder on the Orient Express. As I said, written and based on the Agatha Christie novel. It's directed and starring Kenneth Branagh again as Hercule Poirot. The peace and tranquility that was temporarily existence on the SS Camac is destroyed after one of the passengers is found murdered. Renowned Belgian detective Hercule Poirot is entrusted with the important task of identifying which one of the passengers is the killer before they strike again. Dun, dun, dun. The cast this time composed of Annette Bening, Russell Brand, Gal Gadot, Letitia Wright, and Armie Hammer, who, boy, that cast looked a lot better at the start of the year, didn't it? Let's not get into the Armie Hammer stuff, because I had dinner earlier. I don't want to throw it up. September 17th for this one. Been delayed quite a bit. Who knows when it will come out. The White Tiger, the epic journey of a poor Indian driver who must use his wit and cunning to break free from servitude to his rich masters and rise to the top of the heap. It's based on a book by Aravind Adiga, which won him the Man Booker Prize years ago. Directed by Ramin Bahrani and starring Adarsh Gaurav and Priyanka Chopra. Released in cinemas last week, actually. It's going to be on Netflix on January 22nd, so maybe by the time this is out. Positive reception overall, not glowing or anything, but there you go. Infinite, a man discovers that his hallucinations are actually visions from past lives, based on the novel The Reincarnationist paper by D. Eric Malkins and adapted for the screen by John Lee Hancock and Ian Shore. Directed by Antoine Fuqua, who gave us Training Day and The Equalizer, and stars Mark Wahlberg, Dylan O'Brien, and Chiwetel Ejiofor, set to come out May 28th. Directed by Adrian Lin is the next one, Deep Water. He hasn't directed a film since 2002. He's previously directed 9.5 Weeks and An Indecent Proposal, so that's just sort of tell you what they're going for here, which is a film that's kind of billed as a psychological erotic thriller based on the novel by Patricia Highsmith, whereby a married couple have fallen out of love with each other and begin playing deadly mind games against one another, that they begin seeing those around them start to die. I think I butchered the description. Who cares? This stars Ben Affleck and Ana de Armas in the lead roles. They started to fall out of love with each other as well, apparently, so it's going to be an awkward press tour. Coming out August 13th. The Nightingale, based on the novel by Kristen Hanna, which sees 2 sisters struggle to survive and resist the German occupation of France during World War II. 2 sisters are actually going to be played by real-life sisters, Ellie Fanning and Dakota Fanning. It's going to be directed by Melanie Laurent, better known as an actress, or an actor, but she has quite a bit of directing experience, actually. It's set to come out December 22nd. I could easily see this being pushed to next year. Chaos Walking is our last one. Oh boy, settle in, folks. This is an interesting one. Directed by Doug Liman, who gave us Born Identity and Edge of Tomorrow. This is based on the hit YA series by Patrick Ness, from which the movie gets its name. This is going to adapt the first book, The Knife of Never Letting Go, the plot of which is that the not-too-distant future, Todd Hewitt discovers Viola, a mysterious girl who crash lands on the planet where all the women have disappeared and the men are afflicted by the noise, a force that puts all their thoughts on display. In this dangerous landscape, Viola's life is threatened, and as Todd vows to protect her, he will have to discover his own inner power and unlock the planet's dark secrets. Todd will be played by Tom Holland. Viola will be played by Daisy Ridley. Mads Mikkelsen and Nick Jonas are also in the film. Right, this is one of the most delayed films out there right now. No joke. This wrapped its principal photography November 2017. Wow. After poor test screenings, they decided to do reshoots, but due to commitments to Star Wars Rise of Skywalker and Far From Home, they couldn't get their stars back until April of 2019. Under a different director, Fede Alvarez had to do the reshoots. It was that long had passed. They nearly had, in other words, did reshoots for a film a year and a half after it wrapped to make things work. We've only got one trailer about 2 months ago. It looks grand. March 5th. I don't think it's coming out then either. Yeah, troubled film. This is I don't feel especially passionate about any of these, to be honest. Death in Denial, I thought Murder on the Express was fine, and I'd probably watch this at some point. White Tiger, not much of an interest in. Deepwater, not much of an interest in. I'd have to see a trailer. Nightingale could be good, but I'm kind of burnt out on that stuff. Chaos Walking is probably going to be bad, if we're all honest. Which leaves me with Infinite, with Antoine Fuqua has done some decent work. To be honest, I don't know if he's ever surpassed Training Day as his first film. The plot sounds sort of interesting. So I guess, I don't know, maybe I'll give it to that. Anyway, no suspense here. I'm going to give it to Infinite. Not a very interesting category this year. Regardless, I'm going to give the winner of the Book and Boys Award to Infinite. Our next category, this time, we're not looking at things adapted from books at all. We're actually looking at films that are original. Imagine in this day and age that a film could actually be original. But that's what the O.G.s category is for. Nominees are, for the O.G.s, original gangsters, original films. It should be the OFs, I don't know. But our nominees are 5 nominees for this category. Last Night in Soho, coming from Edgar Wright. Next nominee is No Man's Land. This one has actually been released in some territories, and we'll get into it. The Tomorrow War, an original one not based on the famous sci-fi book. The Asset, coming from Martin Campbell. And the last one, which was actually nominated last year, was BIOS. Well, let's get into these nominees, because I actually have a bit to say on these, and I also want to talk about last year, what was nominated, because it's pretty darn interesting in a good way and in a bad way. So, last year we nominated King of Staten Island, Tenet. Sorry, I'm going to readjust my seat here. Which is a rickety, I mean, it's a very expensive chair, not a rickety wooden chair. This is a fancy award ceremony. Tenet, Last Night in Soho, BIOS, and The Tomorrow War. So that's right. 3 of the films here have been nominated last year. King of Staten Island and Tenet were the only one released. Tenet won last year. I did not like Tenet. So I think it was actually my number 1 film on my top 10 last year, which we'll get to in a sec. King of Staten Island was pretty good. Last Night in Soho, BIOS, and The Tomorrow War were all nominated last year. Last Night in Soho is directed and co-written by Edgar Wright and Christy Wilson Cairns, who gave us 1917. She joins him in The Range Use. The story follows a young woman, a young girl, I should say. According to the plot description, I'm not calling her a girl. That's what it says. Passionate about fashion design and is mysteriously able to enter the 1960s, where she encounters her idol, a dazzling wannabe singer. But 1960s London is not what it seems, and time seems to fall apart with shady consequences. It stars Anya Taylor-Joy, Thomasin McKenzie, Matt Smith, and Terence Stamp. This is a psychological horror film set to come out April 23rd. They really lucked out getting Anya Taylor-Joy there, didn't they? Because she's kind of exploded since. No Man's Land, Western film starring Frank Grillo with George Lopez and Andy McDowell. No one of much note is involved in this film. Doesn't seem like there's much else of note in the film. Reviews suggest it's not good. It's coming out January 22nd, so probably by the time this comes out, if you want to check it out, a film that's not that great, apparently. The Tomorrow War is directed by Chris McKay, who gave us the Lego Batman movie. It's written by Zach Dean. The plot is the fate of a futuristic war rests upon one man's ability to confront the ghost of his past. Humanity is losing to an alien invasion, so to fight back, scientists develop a way to draft soldiers from the past to fight the wars. It stars Chris Pratt and Yvonne Strahovski. It's set for July 23rd. The strong rumor here is that Amazon have paid about $200 million to buy the rights to this, so could see it on Amazon more realistically. The Asset, directed by Martin Campbell, who gave us GoldenEye, Casino Royale, and The Mask of Zorro. It's written by Richard Wenk, who gave us the Equalizer films, and Jack Reacher. Never go back. I bet school was probably a bit tough there for Richard Wenk. Oh my God, and Richard is... Oh, you can short Richard for Dick. Dick Wenk. The pick follows Anna, played by Maggie Q, and Rembrandt, played by Michael Keaton, two of the world's premier assassins who share a mysterious past from Vietnam. For years, they traverse the globe, competing for high-profile contracts, but when Anna's mentor, Moody, played by Samuel L. Jackson, is murdered, she and Rembrandt must form an uneasy alliance and return to Vietnam to track down his killer, set for April 23rd. Last film, it was baffling last year, it's baffling this year. BIOS, directed by Miguel Sapochnik, who did some great episodes of Game of Thrones. In fact, The Battle of the Bastards was him. And many other really good TV episodes. Two writers who are mostly known as producers. For the record, I can't remember their names. On a post-apocalyptic Earth, a robot built to protect the life of his creator's beloved dog learns about life, love, friendship, and what it means to be human. Stars Tom Hanks, April 16th. Again, it's one of those weird ones where it's like, they do this kind of weird story every now and then where it's like, a robot. What if a robot could feel what a human felt? Tom Hanks is in this, so that's noteworthy somehow, I guess. Right. Going through these very quickly. No Man's Land apparently sucks. Didn't sound that very interesting to begin with, to be honest. Aside from that, the Tomorrow War could be kind of good. The fact that they're selling it to Amazon, I may be able to watch it on Amazon. I don't find it very interesting. The Asset doesn't do anything for me. If it wasn't Martin Campbell, I wouldn't have any interest in it. BIOS is a weird oddity. Last Night in Soho, I mean, I'm excited to see Edgar Wright actually tackle a psychological horror film. So, with that said, the winner of the O.G.s category is Last Night in Soho. For me, this is just a no-brainer. I mean, in my opinion, Edgar Wright simply has not missed. He has been making great films, and I don't think he's set a foot wrong, to be entirely honest. I'm excited to see him take on a film that's not kind of a comedy, that's sort of something pretty earnest, that it's a psychological horror film. And the way he's kind of referred to it and what he's referencing, like films like Don't Look Now, just sounds like a very interesting take. So that is what I think is something I definitely want to see. Certainly, it's the winner of the O.G.s Winner Award for this year. Which brings us to the biggest category we have here, which is the TV Show Award. The award that should have been called the As Seen on TV Award, but I didn't think that far ahead, so now it's just called the Will Be Seen on TV Award, which does make sense. We had this category last year. Doesn't make any sense. Falcon and the Winter Soldier from Marvel Studios. Get used to that. Loki from Marvel Studios. MCU TV series are a big deal this year. Miss Marvel, also coming to the MCU, coming to Disney+. Hawkeye, the last live-action Disney Plus series we are getting this year. Then we also go to Disney Plus for Star Wars, The Book of Boba Fett. Dexter being revived this year. Is it going to be any good? Is it going to catch it a former glory days? The Lord of the Rings coming to Amazon. Is it going to be a patch on the original? Chucky comes to Sci-Fi. The Boys returning for season 3 on Amazon. Bel-Air coming to Peacock, a dramatic reboot of The Fresh Prince of Bel-Air. Cowboy Bebop, a Netflix adaptation of the classic anime. Halo, coming to Showtime, long in development. Will it be any good? Only Murders in the Building, coming to Hulu in America and Disney Star when it launches. The Peacemaker TV series, coming to HBO Max. As I said, this is our biggest category. 14 nominees. We're going to race through what all these mean and whether or not some of them are going to be any good. Right. Whew. Let's start. Okay, last year the winner of this was WandaVision. Speaking of, I have a new series on YouTube called The Watcher. I'll be doing it weekly about every episode of WandaVision and some of these Disney MCU series going forward. Please check it out. It's kind of interesting. Hopefully we can kind of do it carrying on and we can kind of create a debate about these shows. Regardless, the first one I want to talk about is The Book of Boba Fett. This is the first spin-off of The Mandalorian, where it picks up, it's going to be a lot of Disney Star Wars shows, by the way. Picks up where we last saw the iconic bounty hunter played by Tamora Robinson, Boba Fett, as he seemed to claim the throne that once belonged to Jabba the Hutt as a leader of the criminal underworld. He's joined by Fennec Shan, played by Ming-Na Wen. It's understood that Robert Rodriguez, who directed the character's reintroduction in The Mandalorian, is going to play a pivotal part in bringing the show to Disney Plus in December 2021. We don't know any plot details aside from that. Falcon and the Winter Soldier will be next show after WandaVision. Sam Wilson and Bucky Barnes team up to fight the anarchist group, the Flag Smashers. Of course, Anthony Mackie just became the new Captain America, the Falcon, in the last one, or in Endgame. So it'll presumably follow on from that, and whether or not he truly feels like he could be Captain America. Of course, Anthony Mackie and Sebastian Stan return. Daniel Bruhl returns as well as Baron Zemo. Emily Van Camp returns as Agent 13, which all reprise their roles from the MCU. Wyatt Russell is also joining as a new cast member who the government want to be the next Captain America. So that could be very interesting. 6 episodes of this will start on Disney Plus March 19th. Then we have the next Disney series, because boy is there a lot on this year. MCU series this time, Loki. Series follows Falcon and the Winter Soldier as far as air date. It sees Loki traveling through time using the Tesseract, which he stole in Avengers Endgame, altering human history and ending up trapped in his own crime thriller after being brought before the Time Variance Authority. Tom Hiddleston returns as Loki. We also get Owen Wilson and Gugu Mbatha-Raw and Richard E. Grant among new members of the cast, set to air on Disney Plus for 6 episodes in May. If I had to guess, probably the first week of May. That would kind of do with a week off between Falcon and Winter Soldier, but I don't know. If I was a betting man, I would say first week of May. Then we have some new characters. The first MCU series led by a new character sees the debut of fan favourite Kamala Khan, Pakistani-American teenage girl who loves superheroes and is inspired by Captain Marvel to fight crime after gaining shape-shifting powers. The titular role will be played by newcomer Iman Vellani, and the show is expected to debut in late 2021 on Disney+. Miss Marvel is also going to appear in Captain Marvel 2, slated for next year. Last MCU series we need to talk about is Hawkeye, the final live-action MCU series of the year. At long last sees Hawkeye getting the spotlight, again played by Jeremy Renner. Much of the talk, however, concerns the introduction of Kate Bishop as Hawkeye, played by Hailee Steinfeld, who Clint Barton will mentor, presumably before she takes a much larger role in the MCU. Hawkeye comes to Disney Plus in late 2021. Now, if you're not a Marvel fan and you're more of a DC fan, you can have Peacemaker on HBO, which is written and created by James Gunn and inspired by his take on the character in the upcoming Suicide Squad film. John Cena reprises his role from the film for this 8-episode series coming to HBO Max later in the year. Just started filming. If you don't like superheroes, you might get along with The Boys, which apparently is going to come back for a 3rd season, very likely at the end of this year. The jewel in Amazon Prime's video TV show library at the moment. It's expected it'll be at the end of the year. No confirmed date. Could be bumped into 2022 or 2021. 2022. Forgot what year it was. Especially with COVID going on at the moment. Much of the surviving cast will return following season 2. New members will also appear, but so far we've only got confirmed Soldier Boy, played by Jensen Ackles, who's basically a parody of Captain America. One storyline confirmed to be included this season is as graphic as it sounds, Hero-gasm, which is, I'm not going to get into that actually. It's going to be a bit graphic. You know, we're pre-watershed at the moment. It's expected late 2021. Now, the most expensive series for Amazon, and what they were hoping will replace The Boys because they really needed to, is The Lord of the Rings, expected to start on Amazon this year. A 5-season commitment. It's the most expensive TV series of all time, with at least $1 billion apparently going towards the production of this series. There's a deal with Tolkien and Skate again. Like I said, it has to be 5 seasons. Set thousands of years before The Hobbit and Lord of the Rings, it follows an ensemble cast of characters, both familiar and new, as they confront the long-feared re-emergence of evil to Middle-earth. Massive cast and budget. All eyes are on Amazon to see if they can actually make this work. Apparently it's going to arrive this year. No firm date. Less pressure would probably be on, and less expectation, on the Chucky TV series based on Don Mancini's Child Play films. He's on board with this project. It's going to follow the continuity of his film series. Brad Dourif is going to return as the voice of the killer doll, along with Jennifer Tilly, who will return as Tiffany Valentine. The plot of the show is apparently that a vintage Chucky doll turns up in a suburban yard sale, and an idyllic American town is thrown into chaos as a series of horrifying murders begin to expose the town's hypocrisies and secrets. Meanwhile, the arrival of enemies and allies from Chucky's past threatens to expose the truth behind the killings, as well as the demon doll's untold origins as a seemingly ordinary child who somehow becomes this notorious serial killer. It's expected to air on Sci-Fi this year. Then we have Bel-Air, which is a dramatic reboot of The Fresh Prince of Bel-Air based on the fan film for which the show gets its name, Bel-Air. It's understood to be more grounded and realistic of the Fresh Prince of Bel-Air story about how Will's life got turned upside down. It's going to end up on Peacock. It's been given a 2-season order. First season is expected in 2021. Will Smith is on board as a producer and seems pretty happy with the project. We have Cowboy Bebop, as I mentioned, announced by Netflix some time ago. It's an adaptation of a classic acclaimed anime series. It's expected to be available to stream this year. They've had some production issues. John Chu injured his knee, which apparently added 6 months to it, but they have been back filming and had a couple of episodes done. So very likely we should see this in 2021. Speaking of troubled productions, Halo. Numerous failed adaptations and false starts, but the Halo TV series is finally expected to arrive, set to follow an epic 26th century conflict between humanity and an alien threat known as the Covenant. It will weave deeply drawn personal stories with action, adventure, and richly imagined vision of the future. Cast members include Pablo Schreiber and Natasha McAlone. Look for it on Showtime in early 2021. Also on Showtime this year is the return of Dexter. We had 8 years and 7 seasons off the air. Dexter is being revived by Showtime. It'll see the return of Michael C. Hall as the titular killer of killers, while again Clyde Phillips will return as showrunner. He was the producer and showrunner for the first 4 seasons, which, if you ask most people, was the heyday of the show. He's going to return for this new season. It's not set in Miami this time, interesting enough. It's set in New York, pitting Dexter against a new villain, Kurt Caldwell, played by Clancy Brown. It's expected to arrive on Showtime late this year. Last show we want to talk about is, if you're not into killers and you prefer your murders to be a bit lighter, we have a comedy series co-created and starring Steve Martin along with Martin Short and Selena Gomez. Set to air for 10 episodes, it follows 3 strangers who share an obsession with true crime who suddenly find themselves caught up in one. This comes to Hulu in America and is expected on Disney Plus' Star Hub when it airs. Right. Whew. Let me just take a break, because let me tell you, that's the biggest category, and it feels like it. There's a couple of series here I actually am excited for, I should say. Well, I'm annoyed for a few of them. Okay. Let me just eliminate a few. Halo, I think its time has passed. Sorry. I just think that the time has passed. I'm not very interested in it. Only Murders in the Building sounds interesting, but not interesting enough to get me invested. Bel Air, I think it could be decent, but again, I'm not massively excited for it. Chucky, I'm a fan of the Chucky series. I don't know whether it's going to work on a sci-fi channel, to be honest, so nah. Dexter, haven't even finished the first 8 seasons. Is Dexter Survival going to capture its past glory? I don't know. To be honest, I'm not sure if I really have much interest in it anyway. Then we have things like Peacemaker. I reserve judgment on that until I see Suicide Squad to decide whether I actually want to see a whole TV series on this. Star Wars, The Book of Boba Fett. I think Boba Fett is a bit overrated. Is it going to be any good? I don't know. Not something I'm massively excited for. Of course, I'm going to watch it, but I'm not like, oh, we needed this, as much as most people are clamoring for more Boba Fett. The Boys, I really like The Boys. But I kind of dragged through season 2, so that might say something about season 3. Again, excited, but I don't think it's something that I'm massively anticipating. I'm going to agree with what my buddy said. He actually chimed in here. My buddy Jer said that Lord of the Rings, he feels there's so many ways it can go wrong, as much as he's excited for it. I kind of feel the same, and because of that, I don't feel it's entirely necessary, and because of that, I really struggle on saying it's my most anticipated series. Which kind of, I think, I've eliminated everything except Cowboy Bebop. Again, I haven't seen the anime, so that's unnecessary. That leaves the MCU series. And for me, I'm excited for Falcon Winter Soldier, but it seems like more of kind of what we've seen. Loki, again, I'm excited. I think it's different and weird. Not the one I'm most excited for. Hawkeye, it's based on Matt Fraction's run of Hawkeye, which I love. But I think if we're going to go with a new series, it should be a new series. And for me, that means the winner of the Will Be Seen on TV award, because I forgot to rename it, is Miss Marvel. I'm just excited to see a new character in the MCU. Miss Marvel is a great character as well. I really, really like this character. I've read a lot of her comics, and because of that, I'm very excited to see what happens when we get Miss Marvel on Disney Plus in 2021. Liam Neeson wasn't a fan of that last one. I'm a big fan of Dexter. Maybe I'll be a bigger fan of our next category. Our next category, oh, the horror. Dun, dun, dun. Our nominees for Oh, the Horror. Wrong Turn, a reboot of the Wrong Turn series. A Quiet Place Part 2. Of course, a sequel to the original Quiet Place. Spiral, from the Book of Saw. This is an interesting one. We're going to have to get into more details about that one. The Conjuring, The Devil Made Me Do It. The Forever Purge, the apparent end of the Purge series. Don't Breathe 2, long time waiting for this sequel. Halloween Kills, the return of Michael Myers. These are our nominations. 7 nominees here in this category. As I mentioned, been a couple of big years for horror lately. They're hoping it'll continue this year. And we're kind of at that stage where a lot of stuff is, of course, being delayed. And because of that, we're left with a bit of a backlog. I don't know, is there enough room for all of these to succeed? But let's talk about some of these all the same. Okay. First one I want to talk about is Wrong Turn. Now, as I said, this is a rebooted series. I've never seen the other ones. It's also one of those ones that might be a sneaky sequel. I think a lot of them went straight to DVD anyway. It's directed by some guy. I looked him up. He's some guy. He's written by Alan McElroy, who did some work on Star Trek Discovery and wrote Halloween 4. Did I say Return? Did I have the name? Did I mention The Return of Michael Myers? Is that the name of that one? I can't remember. That would have been freaky. Friends hiking in the Appalachian Trail are confronted by the foundation and community of people who have lived in the mountains for hundreds of years. Stars a lot of beautiful young people who will probably be slaughtered. I don't care about this film, in case you haven't picked that up yet. It's playing in theaters for one night only on January 26th, and then it goes to video on demand. Next one I want to talk about is Quiet Place Part 2, which came so close to being released. It came so close to being released that it actually had its world premiere before everything shut down. But yeah, apparently got quite good reactions. It's directed again by John Krasinski and written. Emily Blunt returns, and this time she's joined by Cillian Murphy and Digimon Hinsu. Following the events at home, the Abbott family now face the terrors of the outside world, forced to venture into the unknown. They realize the creatures that hunt by sound are not the only threats lurking beyond the sandpath. This film, as I said, was very close to being released, and the reactions seem to be good. So I don't know what's going to get its release this time. April 23rd. I know at one stage Paramount were very afraid of this being the first film when cinemas came back. I don't think if, let's say, a Bond moves, I think they're going to move again too. Then we have Spiral. This is an interesting one, I said, because it's the 9th Spiral film, but it's also pushed as a sort of spin-off / soft reboot. And what's really weird about this is it's based on a concept that Chris Rock pushed. Apparently, he met the producer of Lionsgate, I think it was, at a wedding and was like, oh, you know what you should do? Apparently that was enough for them to make another Saw film. It's directed by Darren Lynn Bousman, who directed Saw 2 to Saw 4. It's written by Josh Stolberg and Pete Goldfinger, who were responsible for the Piranha 3D films. It stars Chris Rock and Samuel Jackson. The story is a sadistic mastermind unleashes a twisted form of justice in Spiral, the terrifying new chapter from the Book of Saw. May 21st was originally meant to come out last year. Conjuring, The Devil Made Me Do It is the third film in the main Conjuring series, not the spin-off films, even though there's a load of them. It's directed by Michael Chavez, who directed The Curse of La Llorona, which was one of those spin-off films. It was written by David Leslie Johnson McGoldick. Dude, that's one person. Shorten your name. David Leslie is grand. David L.G. McG. That's not even short, that's worse than I mind. Just call yourself David. He wrote the second Conjuring and Aquaman. It features the return of the Warrens, played by Vera Farmiga and Patrick Wilson. One of the most sensational cases from the files of real-life paranormal investigators Ed and Lorraine Warren, where a young boy is murdered and the murder suspect claims demonic possession as a defense for the first time in history of the United States. Haven't seen any of the Conjuring films, but that sounds pretty cool. Coming to theaters June 4th and HBO Max. Sup on that. The Forever Purge is the fifth and seemingly final entry for now in the Purge series, written by James DeMonico, who wrote the previous entries. It stars Anna de la Regora following the presidential elections from the last year and the abolition of the Purge. A Mexican couple escaping from a drug cartel is stranded on a Texas ranch. There, they will be at the mercy of a group of outsiders who decide they unlawfully continue their own purge. July 9th is when it gets released. So, like, it's not a purge. They're just stuck with murderers. That's like any horror film ever. You kind of got rid of the original concept there, I guess. Then we have Don't Breathe 2, a sequel to the 2016 film directed by Rodos Sayogues. In his directorial debut, he co-wrote the original and co-wrote this one too, along with Fede Alvarez, who directed the first film. This sees the return of Stephen Lang, the blind man. He's a blind man. I said he sees the return. That was not intentional. The blind man has been hiding out for several years in an isolated cabin and has taken in and raised a young girl orphaned from a devastating house fire. The quiet life together is shattered when a group of criminals kidnaps the girl, forcing the blind man to leave his safe haven to save her. August 13th for that one. Last one is Halloween Kills, a direct sequel to David Gordon Green's 2018 Halloween film. He returns to direct again, along with writing, along with Danny McBride and Scott Teems. It's set immediately after the last film. Laurie Strode and her family work with new and old allies to form a mob against Michael Myers, who is still loose in Haddonfield. The three generations of this road woman return again in the century, set to ride October 15th, with the sequel Halloween Ends expected to come the following year. Right. I have no interest in Wrong Turn. As I said, I think that was very clear from my reading. Spiral, from the Book of Saw. I've only seen one of the Saw films. I was interested enough in this that I actually went and bought their whole Saw films and I intend to watch them. I think my logic and everyone else's logic is, what the hell makes Chris Rock get interested in making a Saw film? And why is Chris Rock in this? That's the big question mark. That's what's going to draw me in. Conjuring, again, I think it's a cool concept. I haven't seen any of the other Conjurings, but it has my attention, has a bit of interest. Don't Breathe 2, haven't seen the first one, not necessarily interested. A Quiet Place Part 2, I like the first one. Interested to see where they go with the second one. Again, it's one of those things where it's been delayed to the point now where I kind of lost a bit of my interest for it, which is a shame because I think it could be a very good movie. The Forever Purge, haven't seen any of the other Purge films. This one just sounds like a generic horror film, unfortunately. Halloween Kills, I've seen all the Halloween films. I really liked the 2018 one, so I'm interested to see where this goes. The trailers have certainly got me interested. So with all that said, there's a few strong entries there. And for me, I'm going to say the winner of the Horror Award this year is Halloween kills. When you look at this film, they managed to bring back a series that really had no like business sticking around. I think that's really interesting. It's one of the most fun I've had in cinemas was seeing that opening weekend. Just had a great reaction. And this looks great as well. And I think, yeah, Liam Neeson is shaking his head. We have a guest to select this film. Not to select this film, to collect his award for the film. Ladies and gentlemen, Michael Myers is here to collect the award. Michael, are you there? Michael. Oh, because he's silent in the movies, I guess. So,
Tom Pot? Ah, sorry.
Michael.
I believe we had a bit of a bad connection there. I'd just like to say thank you so much for this award. It truly means the world to me. I thought the only award I'd ever get would be a Lifetime Achievement Award. I'd just like to say it means a lot to us here, and I hope you'll all come to the cinemas when Halloween Kills is released eventually. Hopefully not too soon. And shout out to Jason. Fuck Freddy. That's a bit of a joke. We have us slashers. Anyway, thank you so much for the award. Cheerio.
That was Michael Myers, was it? Michael Myers, famously from Haddonfield, has a British accent. Was that Mike Myers? Was that him trying out his fancy SNL characters? Clearly not Michael Myers there, but apparently he's getting an award sent to him. So good on you, grifter dude. Why is he having a British accent? Why do you say fuck Freddy and make a terrible pun? That's what I do. Anyway, plenty of other categories to move on to. Let's wash our hands of this terrible, terrible horror and that awful joke. Hopefully things will be a bit funnier here with the Send In the Clown Awards. This is, of course, for comedy films, and I hope you appreciate that I used Comic Sans for the font there. Wow. Humor at the highest level. A lot of nominees in this category. Coming to America being one of the most high-profile ones. Sequel, of course, to Coming to America. French Exit, based on a book, believe it or not in our book category though. The Man from Toronto, originally had Jason Statham, but he has been replaced. Who is he being replaced by? Stay with us. The Unbearable Weight of Massive Talent. Whew, I know how that feels. Marry Me. Nothing to do with the rest of the development. Barb and Star go to Vista Del Mar. Very poetic title, but is the movie going to be any good? Dog. That's it. That's my own font. That's not a logo for the film. Just to be clear, there's a few like that. That's one of them. Now, a lot of the original films were like that as well, because they just haven't released anything because they're lazy buggers. They're like, we're original. We don't need to come up with fonts. So, comedy is a genre in film that's kind of suffering, in my opinion, right now. Just hasn't really had a massive breakout hit in a while. I think it's going to suffer further, unfortunately, because in an era where they're basically putting guaranteed hits in cinemas, comedy has not been that for a while. So a lot of this stuff could end up going to on demand. I say that now, but we'll go through these and see is there any of them actually worth seeing, even if they are on demand. One film that's definitely going to on demand, though, is Coming to America, which is a sequel, of course, to the 80s comedy. It sees the return of Eddie Murphy and Arsenio Hall from the nation of Zamunda back to America. This time they're directed by Craig Brewer, who recently directed Eddie Murphy and Dolomite Is My Name for Netflix, which was actually very, very good. The plot this time is that the African monarch Akeem learns he has a long-lost son in the United States and must return to America to meet his unexpected heir and build a relationship with his son. We'll come back to that. I don't know if, on paper it looks like it could be decent, but I don't know. Coming to Amazon on March 5th anyway, so we won't have long to wait to find out. French Exit tells the story of a close to penniless widow who moves to Paris with her son and cat, who also happens to be her reincarnated husband. It stars Michelle Pfeiffer as the widow and Lucas Hedges as the son. It's based on the novel by Pathway to Wit, who also adapted a screenplay. He also wrote the book and adapted the screenplay, I believe, for The Sisters Brothers. You've seen that. It's directed by the usually reliable indie director Azazel Jacobs. Had a pretty decent reaction, if not glowing, at the New York Film Festival last year, coming out February 12th. Then we have Dog, Army Ranger Briggs and his Belgian Malinois companion Lulu. I have no idea what that word means. All ass down the Pacific coast in time to catch their best friend's and handler's funeral. Channing Tatum stars as Briggs in this film that he also co-directs, along with Reed Carolyn, who produced many of Tatum's films in the past. February 12th. That's second time we mentioned February 12th. A lot of films actually come out February 12th. New drinking rule game. If I mention February 12th, have a drink. There's no one still sober. We have The Man from Toronto. A screw-up is forced to team... A screw-up is forced to team up with an assassin. After the two are confused for I'm confused, for one another while staying at an Airbnb. The screw-up in this film is Kevin Hart, and the assassin is Woody Harrelson. Kaylee Cuoco is also in the film, directed by Patrick Hughes, who we mentioned earlier gave us both Hitman's Bodyguard films. The more reputable of the two writers of this film is Chris Bremner, who recently worked on Bad Boys for Life, the highest grossing domestic film of 2020, lest we forget, and second highest grossing worldwide, only because China had a film that beat it. September 17th for this one. As I said, Jason Statham was originally in this, now it's being replaced by Woody Harrelson. Next film is The Unbearable Weight of Massive Talent. From the writer-director of That Awkward Moment, a movie you forgot existed until just now, so there you go. This comes from the guy who made that. This comes a film called The Unbearable Weight of Massive Talent. He's seemingly very proud of it because basically any poster I've seen for this is like The Unbearable Weight of Massive Talent by Patrick whatever. Nicolas Cage begrudgingly accepts $1 million offer. This is the plot of the movie now. That's not why he made the movie, although probably. To attend the birthday party of a Mexican billionaire superfan. When things take a wild turn, Nick is forced to become a version of some of his most iconic and beloved characters in order to extricate his wife and daughter from the fan who is a notorious drug lord. Cage plays himself, Pedro Pascal plays the drug lord, Sharon Horgan and Tiffany Haddish are also in the film, coming March 19th. Then we have Marry Me, which is based on a graphic novel, apparently, something I just found out. Directed by Kat Coiro, who will be the showrunner on She-Hulk. She's mostly known for TV directing, including It's Always Sunny and The Mick. The story is that after learning that her onstage partner, played by a musician or singer called Maluma, and I'm not familiar with, has been having an affair behind her back, a sensational Latin pop star, played by Jennifer Lopez, chooses to marry a stranger, Owen Wilson, holding a Marry Me sign at her live concert. Sarah Silverman and Jamila Jamil are also in the film. It comes out May 14th. Finally, in the Comedy Award, we have Barb and Star Go to Vista Del Mar, directed by Josh Greenbow, mostly known for TV and documentary work, sees the writers of Bridesmaids, Annie Momolo and Kristen Rigg, reunite and star in this story of best friends Barb and Star, who leave their small western town for the first time to go on vacation in Vista Del Mar, Florida, where they soon find themselves tangled up in adventure, love, and a villain's plot to kill everyone in town. Also in the cast are Jamie Dornan and Damon Wayans Jr. This was recently announced as going straight to VOD, coming out February 12th. Have a drink. Right. This is not a great showing this year, in my opinion, for comedy. Marry Me sounds okay. I think it has potential to be very good, but it's hard to tell. It kind of could easily just be one of those rom-coms that's totally forgettable. Coming to America is one that on paper I should be excited for. The problem, though, is that it's rated PG-13 and Paramount sold it to Amazon, so I'm not confident it's necessarily going to be a great film, to be honest. Aside from that, the next film is The Unbearable Weight of Massive Talent. The reason I'm stalling here is because I just like, let's go through some of Nicolas Cage's iconic characters. He could be playing a few different characters, and now this is the fun part. We have to go through 106 credits of Nicolas Cage. He's playing himself. I also wanted to shout out a film that I also believe is coming out February 12th. That's not in this, called Willy's Wonderland, where he fights animatronic things in a kind of Chuck E. Cheese setting. It didn't get mentioned in our awards, but I saw a trailer for it recently and I was like, that looks pretty good. So he could play he plays his iconic characters. Let's look at some of his iconic characters. He could be playing Milton from Drive Angry. His character is just called Milton. Wow. He could be playing Big Daddy from Kick-Ass. Maybe. He could play Joe from Bangkok Dangerous. They couldn't even bother giving him a name. He could be playing Ben Gates. I'm here to steal the Declaration of Independence. He could be playing that guy. He could play Johnny Blaze from Ghost Rider. He could be playing Yuri Orlov from Lord of War. That was his name in that? Really? He could be playing Joe Enders from Wind Talkers. He could be playing... I've never seen Gone in 60 Seconds. His character is called Memphis Reigns. Wow. The best country music song never written. Memphis Reigns. He could be playing Rick Santoor from Snake Eyes, Castor Troy from Face Off, or Cameron Poe from Con Air, or Stanley Goodspeed from The Rock. I've never seen The Rock. That sounds like a bike. Stanley Goodspeed, yeah. Right. That sounds batshit. Sounds like it could be fun though. Nicolas Cage kind of goes through years where he cares and years where he doesn't care. I think this might be a year where he cares. Fingers crossed. And then we have to talk about the next one. Barb and Sarah go to Vista Del Mar, which on paper I was like, this sounds like it could be pretty good. I like Bridesmaids. Kristen Wiig is pretty funny. Then I saw the trailer. Oh my God. Never before has a trailer turned me off a movie so bad as this one. It was so unfunny. They commit to this gimmick where they're like, we're not going to show our faces. And Kristen Wiig has like, when someone commits to a character that is just not funny and doesn't work. That's what this character was for me. It was just like this weird, like, I guess Midwestern accent. She's just like, oh, Barb, we go to Del Mar, it'd be good fun. And I'm just like, oh, this is so annoying. What are you doing? The trailer just turned me off completely. If this was coming to cinemas, I wouldn't see it. The fact it's coming to VOD means maybe it will. I don't know. The reviews are good, but to me, it's looked really unfunny, which isn't good when you're making a comedy film. French Exit. Actually, I like the plot synopsis it is. It sounds interesting. Reviews are somewhat positive. So, maybe I'll check it out. Man from Toronto. Again, I think I like the plot. It's hard to tell. It's a bit too early to tell if it's going to be any good, but it sounds like it could be a lot of fun. I do like kind of action comedies. I think a lot of movies are going the action comedy route because it's tougher to get comedy made nowadays. Dog, on the other hand, doesn't sound very interesting. I think it's barely noticeable or reputable if it wasn't for the fact that Channing Tatum is co-directing it. All that said, is there a film that I want to see win this year? What is the winner of our Send in the Clowns Award for comedy? Is there any of them? Because to be honest, I think this category is lacking this year. But all that said, for me, The Unbearable Weight of Massive Talent walks away a winner with a glorious picture of Nicolas Cage playing Castor Troy. Oh no, is he? No, Castor Troy isn't Face Off. Silly Billy. That's Cameron Poe that I have to just check on IMDb from Con Air. What a glorious picture. I just think it could be fun. Nicolas Cage playing himself. I think he plays best when he's sort of a bit self-aware and poking fun at himself a little bit. And it certainly feels like that. Anyway, I mentioned a lot of comedy stuff is going to likely come to video on demand this year, which is where our next category, Bring It to the House, comes in. But our nominees this year are The Little Things, coming to HBO Max. Drink. In the Heights, coming to HBO Max with Lin-Manuel Miranda. Drink. Cherry, Apple TV Plus. If you weren't bombed before playing the drinking game, you will be now. King Richard, coming to HBO Max. Tick, Tick, Boom, coming to Netflix from Lin-Manuel Miranda. Drink. Don't Look Up, coming to Netflix. I'm going to come up with official drinking rules for next year, I think. Red Notice, also coming to Netflix. Army of the Dead, coming to Netflix. Those are our nominees. 8 films. Obviously, there's much more than 8 films coming to streaming this year. It's going to be a massive year, once again, for streaming. But these are the ones that I felt are most noteworthy. Certainly pretty high-profile stuff and more to come from streaming this year. Now, let's talk about them a little bit. First one I want to talk about is The Little Things. This is directed and written by Johnny Hancock, who gave us Saving Mr. Banks and The Founder. It takes place in the 1990s as a Kern County deputy and a Los Angeles detective clash during the investigation of a serial killer. Denzel Washington is our deputy, Rami Malek is our detective, Jared Leto is the suspected killer. Coming January 29th to cinemas and, as mentioned, HBO Max. As I said, HBO Max is a massive deal this year. Warner Bros. Are basically putting their whole slate up if they can get away with it. I'm going to talk about HBO Max in detail in 2 weeks, so be sure to follow along for that, like and subscribe and all that crap. King Richard tells the story of Richard Williams, who's the father of tennis superstars Venus and Serena Williams, who coached them to glory. He's a bit of an unusual person, and I think actually he had no real interest in tennis until he saw there was success in it. So, and he's an erratic coach, to put it mildly. Will Smith is going to play the lead in this film. It's directed by Ronaldo Marcus Green and written by Zach Balin, this being probably their most high-profile project to date, to be honest. Comes to HBO Max November 19th. Then we have In the Heights, based on Lin-Manuel Miranda's first theatrical production and adapted for the screen by his Vivo collaborator, who we mentioned earlier, and the writer of the book for the musical of In the Heights, Kiora Alegria Hudes, in which a bodega owner has mixed feelings about closing his store and retiring to the Dominican Republic after inheriting his grandmother's fortune. Directed by John M. Chu, best known for Crazy Rich Asians, and led by Anthony Ramos and Leslie Grace. This comes to HBO Max and cinemas on June 18th. Tick, Tick, Boom. Speaking of Lin-Manuel Miranda, Miranda makes its feature directorial debut with Netflix's Tick, Tick, Boom, whereby an aspiring theatre composer endures a midlife crisis as he approaches 30 and does not feel close to his dream. This is based on a semi-autobiographical musical written by Jonathan Larson and adapted by Stephen Levinson, who was a showrunner on Phosphor Dunn and wrote for the show Masters of Sex. This is led by Andrew Garfield, and the supporting cast includes Vanessa Hudgens and Alexandra Shipp. Coming to Netflix, no fixed date, but it's coming 2021. Netflix are basically saying that they're going to have like a big film premiere every week in 2021. They put out a trailer recently if you want to check it out, what they're promising for 2021, which is a lot. None more high profile. Probably the biggest film to date this year, or certainly one of them, when you hear the star power you'll understand why, is Don't Look Up. This is directed and written by Adam McKay, who made his name in comedy, Step Brothers, The Other Guys, Anchorman, and has moved on to more serious recently with The Big Short and Vice. It's a political disaster satire that follows two low-level astronomers who must go on a giant media tour to warn mankind of an approaching comet that will destroy planet Earth. By the way, here's the cast. This is where I'm like, this is a big movie. Leonardo DiCaprio, Jennifer Lawrence, Kate Blanchett, Meryl Streep, Jonah Hill, Timothy Chalamet, and Ariana Grande. And that's not even the full cast. It's insane. It's Netflix basically flexing and be like, oh yeah, you think that we can't get the biggest stars? It's like, they're just like, hey, just so you care, we're in this for real now. It's expected to drop on Netflix 2021. Speaking of putting money on something, they've really jumped up the blockbuster game here with Red Notice, which comes from Ross and Marshall Thurber, who gave us Central Intelligence Skyscraper. He wrote the film, the story of which follows an Interpol agent tracking down the world's most wanted art thief that will also draw on the world's greatest con man. Red Notice assembles an A-list cast, including Dwayne Johnson playing the Interpol agent Gal Gadot, playing the art thief, and Ryan Reynolds playing our con man. Set again for release 2021. Netflix don't really announce dates that far out. They'll announce it like the week before, in case you haven't noticed. They're also doubling down on big name directors with Zack Snyder, who's returning to the genre he started in with Army of the Dead. Following a zombie outbreak in Las Vegas, a group of mercenaries take the ultimate gamble, venturing into the quarantine zone to pull off the greatest heist ever attempted. Cast is led by Dave Bautista, supported by Anna de la Regora, Ella Purnell, Garrett Dillahunt, and Tig Notaro. Netflix are really hoping on this being a franchise. They have a prequel film in the works and an anime series to go along with it, again, coming in 2021. Then we jump over to another streaming service with Apple TV Plus, who are hoping that Cherry is going to be a big hit for them. Directed by the Russo brothers and adapted from the novel by Nico Walker. Tom Holland stars as an army medic suffering from post-traumatic stress disorder who becomes a serial bank robber after an addiction to drugs puts him in debt. It has a short theatrical run coming up February 26th and then comes to Apple TV Plus March 12th. And I think there's already some reviews out for it. Generally pretty positive. Apparently Tom Holland is very good in it. So, which one of these am I most excited for? Our buddy Luke Barry weighed in again. As I said, he has been an actor in the past. He's been a professional actor. He's got a great interest in theatre, more so than me, and much more interest and more knowledge about me. One he's eyeing up this year is In the Heights. He's a big fan of Lin-Manuel Miranda's work. Certainly spoiled for choice this year. This is one he's eyeing up, and I would trust his judgment. I think In the Heights is going to be fantastic. This is one I had very little interest in, and I saw the trailer and I was like, ooh, that looks really good. Let's go through the other ones though. Is there ones that catch my eye aside from that? So, Cherry, I think could be good. I mean, from what I've seen though, I don't think the trailer necessarily sold it very well. Tick Tick Boom could be good. I'm interested to see Lin-Manuel Miranda directing someone else's work as a director. I think it could be interesting. The Little Things looks really good. I like kind of a dark drama. Denzel Washington is it for me. That makes it definitely very watchable. And it just sounds like very interesting. The trailer for it was excellent. That really helps. Don't Look Now. To be honest, Adam McKay's dramatic work has not done much for me from what I've seen. It's too early to tell if it's going to be any different. As I mentioned, In the Heights, I think looks very promising. Definitely towards the top of my list here. Army of the Dead, Zack Snyder can be pretty hit or miss for me. Too early to judge until I see footage. Red Notice to me seems like kind of standard blockbuster fare. King Richard could be good. I don't know enough about Richard Williams to make sure that it is going to be any good, to be honest. I just think this is an opportunity for Will Smith to show that he can act, remember, even though he hasn't kind of been in massive high-profile projects recently. So with all that said, going to be a good year for streaming. There's going to be bigger stuff coming again. What film am I most excited for? What is going to win the Bring It to the House award for streaming? For me, it is The Little Things. Maybe it's because I've seen a trailer for it and not for some of the other stuff. Maybe it's because it comes out relatively soon comparatively. But for me, I just think this looks really good. I'm actually excited for this film quite a bit. The description sounded good. When I saw the trailer, I was like, I'm watching this the day it comes out. And I can't say I said that the same for the rest of them. And that's certainly a defining test. We're talking about stuff that's getting streamed directly to your house. Now, everyone's going to be talking about the films come to streaming. The real test of someone who knows cinema is whether or not you can talk about hipster films. And that is why we have an award just for you to impress your friends with. And that, ladies and gentlemen, is the hipster films you can tell your friend you saw or you watched, so it looks like you have a really good taste in cinema. Our nominees are Minari. Look at that beautiful hipster picture. Malcolm and Marie, black and white. How hipstery. Music by Sia. It's Sia. And The Green Knight from A24. 4 films nominated in the hipster category this year. Let's discuss these nominations a little bit further. Let's do a bit of a deep dive on these, Minari, Malcolm and Marie, The Green Knight, and music. Hipster films you can tell your friends you watched, so it looks like you have a good taste in cinema. Last year, we had First Cow, Promising Young Woman, Antlers, and Saint Maud. Antlers was never released. First Cow got a lot of hipster love. Good movies. I don't know why I'm talking like a hipper. Hipper? Hipper is an old person who's had a hip transplant. Watch out for them. They're a dangerous gang. It's like a hippie and a hipster. I said I'm talking more like a hippie than a hipster, but Promising Young Woman I saw was very good. I gave it to that one because I heard it was very good. Excellent film. Check it out. Saint Maud I saw. Definitely a very hipstery film. I thought it sucked. I was so disappointed in it. I thought it was really, really, really bad. I will say as well, the only reason we got so many nominations to Katie Harvey is because I shamed her for being a hipster. And she selected Minari, which apparently she has very good taste. Reviews for that are off the chart. She's currently working her way through Stephen Yeun's filmography, and it sounds like this is going to be another one that's really, really good. So, Minari, as I said, looks very good. It's directed and written by upcoming director Lee Isaac Chung. It follows a Korean-American family that moves to an Arkansas farm in search of their own American dream. The family home changes completely with the arrival of their sly, foul-mouthed, but incredibly loving grandmother. It's already won a lot of praise, and the award circuit, it's won a lot of awards, including the US Dramatic Grand Jury and US Dramatic Audience Award at Sundance, which is really impressive. Cast is led by Stephen Yeun, as mentioned. It's distributed by A24. If you see an A24 stamp on a film, perfect indie fare, perfect for hipsters. And I say that as someone who loves A24 films. And as a white guy with a beard and a podcast who wears glasses, I'm pretty sure I automatically get my hipster card. Then we have Malcolm and Marie, which is written and directed by Sam Levinson, who created HBO's Euphoria. He reunites with his Euphoria star Zendaya here and plays opposite John David Washington, which sees a director and his girlfriend's relationship tested after they return home from his movie premiere and await critics' responses. It's perfect for hipsters. It was shot on 35mm black and white. Woo! Wow. Now it's so artsy, man. It's about film. It's about films that matter to relationships. Ugh. I'll cringe at this. Then it'll come out and be good, and I'll be like, oh, I have to apologize. I apologize. Short theatrical release coming in January. It's going to release on Netflix February 5th. Now we have music by Sia. I pronounced it Sia earlier, which I always did. Apparently it's pronounced Sia, which I learned only from, doing this. Oh, we're going to talk about this film, man. So it's directed and co-written by Sia. It stars Kate Hudson, who plays Zoo, who is a newly sober mother. Newly sober. Sorry, I didn't say mother. She's newly sober when she receives news that she has become the sole guardian of her half-sister, named Music. So she is sort of a mother. A young girl on the autism spectrum. Family explores two of Sia's favorite themes. This is in the description. Finding your voice and creating family. Oh, Sia's so deep, man. Sia's so deep. She's about finding family and finding your voice. Wow. Two things that everyone's interested in. Also in the film are Leslie Odom Jr. and Maddie Ziegler as Music, the titular character. Following a release in Australia, it received mixed reviews. It's in this category for just being total wankery. I had contempt after reading about this film. Coming to cinemas for one night only on February 10th, before going on demand February 12th. It was announced in the 2015 Venice Film Festival that it was going to star Maddie Ziegler, who starred in a series of music videos with Sia and co-directed by blah, blah, blah. And she also danced in many of Sia's performances. After creating the music video for Chandelier, Sia decided she was pretty good at directing and felt a little bit braver. Good for you. Wow, that must have been very tough. She co-wrote the film with a children's book author. She enjoyed the creative process and noticed similarities between directing and writing songs. She said, "For me, the process was basically I work out the movie, I'll act it out. I'll have the dialogue already in my head. I can't be bothered to learn final draft. Like when I sing, I just want to sing the melody and write the lyrics. I don't want to have to do production, which is very technical. I don't enjoy that. Then don't make a movie." It originally was conceived as a non-musical film, which subsequently became a musical. I hate when that happens. The transformation to a musical saw the film's budget increase from 4 million to 16 million. Songs were written by Sia and choreographed, done by Sia's frequent collaborator. The film was given the working title Sister and subsequently renamed Music. Shot in mid-2017, it struggled to get a release, basically. Reviews have been very mixed. The narrative flow is being interrupted by an album's worth of Sia's music that gets old very quickly. Maybe that's why you shouldn't have just decided, hey, let's make it a musical out of nowhere. 2 out of 5 stars, lacks credibility. Anyway, yeah, I hate this. I hate this film already. So yeah, I've made my feelings on that one pretty clear. What about the other ones? Minari, I'm actually pretty excited for. I think that'll be very good. Malcolm and Marie, I think it sounds very pretentious. It could be good, but it's kind of tough to tell. The Green Knight, I actually really like the look of this film. I think the director's done great work in the past. And I like the kind of epic fantasy it's going for. So with all that said, what hipster film can you watch to impress your friends and say you have a really good taste in the film? What is your winner of that award? And for me, it's undoubtedly The Green Knight. There's a bit of pretension on some of the other ones. Minari, I'm sure, would be a good film. But for me, hipster films, you can tell your friends you watch, so it looks like you have good taste in cinema, definitely goes to The Green Knight. Seriously, check out the trailer for this one. It looks amazing. It looks like a really grounded, dark kind of fantasy film. I don't know how anyone could look at the trailer for this and not think this looks impressive. So yeah, for me, no question, that's the film I'm most excited for in the hipster film category. And we finally go to the opposite of the hipster films. We finally come to our last category. Thank you for bearing with me. Whew. If it's been tough for you, imagine how tough it's been for me. 15 categories, biggest one we've ever done. This over 100 films, over 100 properties, I should say. Might have to cut that down next year. There's a lot of films to get through this year, though. So we come to an award which we're calling Martin Scorsese's soon-to-be least favorite films of 2021, aka Marvel, DC, and Sony, I guess. And speaking of Sony, this year, Venom, Let There Be Carnage, along with Morbius, big expansions for the Spider-Man franchise for Sony this year. Not to be outdone by Marvel, who give us Shang-Chi and the Legend of the Ten Rings, one of many MCU films coming this year. The Suicide Squad comes from DC and James Gunn. Eternals, long delayed, not as delayed as one of the other MCU films on this list. Zack Snyder's Justice League, we finally get the Snyder Cut. Is it going to be any good? Probably not. Spider-Man 3, a lot of rumours, not a confirmed title either. And Black Widow, the most delayed MCU film currently on slate. 8 films nominated. It's a massive year for superhero film on the small screen, and they hope on the big screen as well. Let's go through each of these, detail by detail, and then I'll give what I think of the films in general. So, last year, a lot of these films were nominated as well. Last year, Venom, Morbius, Eternals, Black Widows, Birds of Prey, Wonder Woman 1984, Bloodshot, and New Mutants were all nominated. I never thought I'd see the day the New Mutants got released. Let There Be Carnage, as we said. I think the winner of the winner category last year was Birds of Prey. Pretty much all the other stuff that got released wasn't very good. I thought Birds of Prey was the best of those, so I'd stick with that as my winner. Right, as I said, Sony has big plans to expand their Spider-Man universe that might have Spider-Man, might not. With the sequel to 2018's Venom, it's directed this time by Andy Serkis, written by Kelly Marcel, who co-wrote the first film. Tom Hardy returns as Eddie Brock, the titular Venom. Woody Harrelson returns as Cletus Cassidy, better known as Carnage, after being teased in the credits of the first film. Michelle Williams and Reed Scott also return, and also coming to the cast this time as a new member is Naomi Harris. I believe she plays the girlfriend of Woody Harrelson. Currently set for June 25th. What is it? Morbius got delayed recently, so could that be delayed as well? I don't know. I can't imagine they tie in enough where the order of them matters. Anyway, but speaking of Morbius, Sony have plenty of plans for Spider-Man properties. Morbius being one of them, if you're a comic reader. probably better known as Morbius the Living Vampire. The film follows biochemist Michael Morbius, who tries to cure himself of a rare blood disease, but he inadvertently infects himself with a form of vampirism. Ugh, I hate when that happens. Daniel Espinosa directs best known for 2017 sci-fi film Life. The script comes from the writers of Gods of Egypt and The Last Witch Hunter. Oh boy, they got themselves some winners there. Jared Leto plays our lead, joined by Matt Smith and Tyrese Gibson. Michael Keaton is also in the film, seemingly reprising the role of Adrian Toomes, or the Vulture from Spider-Man Homecoming, which could have big MCU ramifications. Just recently got delayed again. Now it's been pushed to October 8th. Speaking of Spider-Man, the only Spider-Man film we definitely know is in the MCU is the yet to be titled Spider-Man 3. Untitled Spider-Man sequel, Spider-Man Far From Home sequel. Apparently at Marvel they're calling it Spider-Man Homecoming 3 or something. But that doesn't really matter. The rumour mill has gone into overdrive for the sequel to Spider-Man Far From Home that sees Tom Holland returning as the Wallcrawler along with Zendaya and Marissa Tomei. While not officially confirmed, it is expected that Benedict Cumberbatch will join the cast as Doctor Strange, and more interesting is that Alfred Molina will apparently return as Dr. Octopus from Sam Raimi's Spider-Man 2. Not only that, Jamie Foxx is expected to return as Electro from the Mark Webb series of films, and while other rumours have suggested Charlie Cox might actually reprise his role as Daredevil from the Marvel Netflix series, all these rumoured details you should expect point to a multiverse, but more specifically, a Spider-Verse. And with that in mind, a lot of rumours suggest this is going to see the return of Tobey Maguire's Spider-Man and Andrew Garfield's Spider-Man, and that we'll get 3 Peter Parkers on the big screen. Nothing confirmed yet, and very few details of this actually are out there at the moment. It's thought this will come out December 17th. That's going to be a tight one to hit, so could easily see it being pushed to next year. Other MCU films, though, we're definitely seeing. It's definitely going to be a big year for the MCU. We have 3 MCU films aside from Spider-Man coming out this year. One of which is Black Widow. The long-suffering, long-delayed Black Widow is directed by Kate Shortland, written by Eric Pearson. Scarlett Johansson returns as Natasha Romanoff, who finds herself alone and forced to confront a dangerous conspiracy with ties to her past. Pursued by a force that will stop at nothing to bring her down, Romanoff must deal with her history as a spy and the broken relationships left in her wake long before she became an Avenger. This takes place between Captain America Civil War and Avengers Infinity War, with Florence Pugh, David Harbour and Rachel Weisz joined the MCU with possible future ramifications. While she will also battle the villain Taskmaster, who can mimic the fighting side of some of others, including Natasha's fellow Avengers. Black Widow hopes to finally release on May 7th. We will see. Shang-Chi and the Legend of the Ten Rings. From established characters to new in the MCU, Shang-Chi sees the introduction of the titular Shang-Chi, the master of Kung Fu, who's just drawn into the clandestine Ten Rings organization and forced to confront the past he thought he left behind. Directed by Destin Daniel Cretton. I don't know. I feel uncomfortable calling him a cretin. That seems mean. Short Term 12 and Just Mercy is probably what he's best known for. It's written by David Callahan, who you mentioned earlier. Simu Liu plays our lead. Awkwafina plays his friend. And most intriguing is Tony Leung playing the real Mandarin, who was introduced in Iron Man 3, which many fans were annoyed that he was butchered as a character. It's set for release on July 9th. Originally, this was set to come out this year after Black Widow and Eternals, but after delays, it's been pushed right in between them. Speaking of Eternals, Shang-Chi might seem quite small in scale, but the MCU project here is far from it. Directed and co-written by Chloe Zhao, who we mentioned, getting a lot of award buzz for Nomadland, so wow, what a swoop in there from Marvel. It's written by the Firpo brothers, mostly known for their short films. The Eternals, an immortal alien race created by the Celestials who have secretly lived on Earth for over 7,000 years, reunite to protect humanity from their evil counterpart, the Deviants, boasting a massive ensemble cast including Angelina Jolie, Richard Madden, Kumail Nanjiani, Salma Hayek, Gemma Chan and Barry Keoghan. That's just to name a few as well. It's an insane cast. Not much else is known about the film except that it's currently dated for November 5th. We're still kind of anticipating that we're going to get a look at this film, but Marvel have been very smart in not showing a lot when they don't really know when this film is actually going to be released. We then have, if you're not into Marvel, DC films, one of which is The Suicide Squad, directed and written by James Gunn. This semi-sequel / soft reboot will see the imprisoned convicts from Task Force X sent on a new sentence-easing mission to the South American island of Corto Maltese to destroy Jotunheim, a Nazi-era prison and laboratory which held political prisoners and conducted experiments. Returning in their roles are Margot Robbie, Jai Courtney, and Joel Kinnaman as Harley Quinn, Captain Boomerang, and Rick Flag, respectively. Joining the squad this time are members such as John Cena playing Taskmaster, Idris Elba as Bloodsport, and Peter Capaldi as Thinker. The film seeks to be an R-rated tonal departure from the previous Suicide Squad, while still taking place in the DCEU. This lands on August 6th on HBO Max and in cinemas. Finally, we come to Zack Snyder's Justice League. One of the most contentious films of recent memory was 2017's Justice League, heavily reshaped in reshoots and post-production and straight from Zack Snyder's original vision. After an extensive fan campaign, Snyder gets to finish his own cut of the film with Zack Snyder's Justice League, or the Snyder Cut. Different visual effects, alternate scenes, and additional photography means that fans are hoping this is something more true to his vision, while most of us just hope it's a good film and are so glad it's finally over. Expecting to run an exhausting 4 hours, this film will see all the original cast return and now include Kirstie Clemens as Iris West, Jared Leto as the Joker, and Ray Porter as Darkseid, set to arrive on HBO Max in March. Now, let's break down these last few films, okay? Obviously, we saved some of the biggest categories. The last superhero films are massive now. Some of these I'm more excited to than others, and to be honest, I think it's probably a lesser year for superhero films, in my opinion. Okay, Venom. I thought the first Venom was terrible. Maybe this will be better. Hard to tell without getting a look at the film. Morbius. I don't think this character needs a film. I don't particularly like Jared Leto. The plot sounds crap. The writers sound awful. Trailer was grand. Not very interested in it. Thank you very much. Then we come to the MCU entries. Shang-Chi. I find quite interesting. I don't know a lot about Shang-Chi in the comics. It definitely feels like one that's going to be smaller in scale. Hard to judge right now. But I think it has a lot of potential. Then we have Eternals. I think this has even more potential again. But it's hard to say without seeing anything. Having Chloe Zhao, who's about to explode in popularity, and having such a massive cast and doing something quite different definitely intrigues me. Hard to judge, though, without seeing anything. It feels like it could be a massively successful film, though. Black Widow, it's one of those ones that's unfortunately my excitement has kind of dwindled because we have seen so much of it and then they had to delay it. At this point, I'm just like, get it out. I am very excited for it. I do think it looks very good. But my excitement has dwindled just because of that. Spider-Man 3, it's tough with this one because nothing is really confirmed, even though it seems incredibly likely. This is way up there for me when it comes to superhero films this year because, as much as it's stupid and fan servicey in some ways, I think it's so cool that we might get all the Spider-Man on screen again, and the possibilities that raise is just sounds really interesting. And I'm as excited to have Daredevil being back, hopefully. Then we have Suicide Squad. I loved the early look at this. I'm very happy that we have James Gunn, who's made some of the best comic book films, in my opinion, with the Guardians of the Galaxy stuff. That we now have him basically getting to do his own thing. Not that he was creatively side with Marvel, but I just mean that he can do an R-rated film with seemingly no rules. It looks insane. It looks like a lot of fun. Zack Snyder's Justice League, I'm interested in, as much as I'm being a bit snarky about it. I don't think it'll be a good film, but I am pretty interested in it because I just want to see how it compares. And even though 4 hours is a lot, but anyway, our final category, the Martin Scorsese category for his least favorite film of 2021 for Marvel, Sony, or DC and Sony. I guess which film is going to be Martin Scorsese's least favorite film of 2021? What film am I most excited for as a superhero film? Is The Suicide Squad. I think it's a tough one, okay? Because a lot of these films actually look quite promising. I'm not necessarily interested in the Sony ones except for Spider-Man 3. The Marvel ones, there's a lot there. They're also in a rebuilding phase. I don't think that's a bad thing, but I just think it's tough to tell without seeing footage and that kind of thing. They're being very secretive, which is good. The Snyder's Justice League doesn't do much for me. The Suicide Squad, on the other hand, it's like, yeah, I've seen bits of it. I find it interesting. I feel like there's a lot of room to improve with the first Suicide Squad, and this seems like a tonal departure. And for that reason alone, I'm pretty interested in seeing this. So there you go. Those are awards. That's the superhero award as well. And with that, we're nearly there, folks. We're going to go through my top 10 for the year. I'm going to go through my list of last year, first of all. Number 1 last year was Tenet. Now, it actually got released. I was very disappointed in it, personally. Number 2 was Last Night in Soho. Was never released. June was number 3. Never released. We got a trailer for it. I was a bit underwhelmed by the trailer, to be honest. No Time to Die is the Bond movie that we just mentioned. Again, it's dropped way, way down for me this year because I just kept marketing it. I've seen a lot of it now, and at this point, I just want to see it released. I don't really have any excitement for it. Birds of Prey came out. I quite enjoyed it. A lot of people didn't. Number 6, Ghostbusters Afterlife. Again, I'm a Ghostbusters fan. I went into that already in a personal story. I'm really excited for it. Black Widow. Another one of those that kind of suffered a little bit. Less so than Bond. But yeah, I kind of feel like I saw enough of it. I was excited as I was going to be for the film. And now we got to wait forever. So that didn't help. Number 8 was Possessor. I don't know why I put that in. That was such a kind of a wild swing at the last minute. I saw that as it came out. I thought it was okay. It was a bit overrated personally. It's written by Brandon Cronenberg, David Cronenberg's son, and directed by him. It was kind of just a fucked up horror film. It was good. It's not great in my opinion. Godzilla vs. Kong, number 9, which again not released. Going to be released in about 2 months, so we will see. Those Who Wish Me Dead was a film by Taylor Sheridan. This is one of the ones where it's the opposite problem. I've heard so little about it that I haven't even been intrigued by it. I saw one image last week for the first time. No one knows what's going to go on with this film, I'm guessing. I think it's meant to come to HBO Max, apparently. That's one last drink for you. It's one of the ones that I wasn't even mentioned this year. It just feels like it went so cold, I had no real interest in it. Even though it's very likely it'll be good. So number 10. This year, what film is my number 10 most excited film for this year is Mortal Kombat. Mortal Kombat! I think that's how you do it. Right. I don't know why it is, to be honest, because video game movies notoriously kind of fail, right? And in my head, I'm like, dude, this could totally work. And I've only seen images, but the fact they're going for R-rated, I think the fact that there was that kind of fan series a while back that was a bit better, that could help this being, a bit more tonally consistent and a bit more grounded and true to the game. So that's what I'm going. Maybe I'm completely off base here. I don't know. Anyway, here we go. The Green Knight. As I said, the trailer for this really won me over. It was just a stunning film, and I really hope it can deliver on the promise that trailer had, because it just looked great. I mean, visually it looked like fantasy without looking kind of over the top. Like, I feel like so many fantasy films are just glossy kind of CGI rubbish. This one just had a real kind of grit to it that I really enjoyed, while still having the kind of creepy, cerebral kind of A24 stuff that we often get. And I understand, I basically just outed myself as a hipster A24 fan, but well, what are you going to do? Anyway, that brings us to our next film, my number 8, The Many Saints of Newark. Now, maybe I'm totally off base here. Maybe this is just because I'm currently watching this, I was really enjoying it, and I'm coming up to my end of the series, and maybe that's giving me a bit of bias. But for me, I just have a bit of an interest in returning to this world, and I kind of like filling in the kind of blanks, the fact that it's a prequel. I don't think it's entirely necessary. I'm not convinced it's going to be necessarily massively great or anything, but it's got my interest, and because of that, it gets in at my number 8 this year. After that, we're going for another adaptation of a TV series. This is like from one scale to another with Jackass 4. I've said it before, I'm a massive Jackass fan. One of the best experiences I ever had in cinemas was going to see Jackass 3. Jackass 3D at the time. Yeah, what can I say? I'm actually very excited for this film. And it feels like a guilty pleasure, but I just want a film that's fun. It feels like after the miserable year we had last year, I just love to have fun at the cinema. Well, anyway, Jackass 4, number 6. Godzilla vs. Kong. I think in some ways I feel like an idiot because I was excited for Godzilla 2014 and I thought it sucked. I put Godzilla King of Monsters on my top 10 list on my first year doing this, and I thought it sucked. It's let me down so many times. I feel like Charlie Brown with the football, where Lucy keeps moving it, but I keep going for it. I'm just hoping this will be fun. And that's more than I can hope for. Godzilla vs. Kong is number 6 on my list. I hope it's good. Fingers crossed that it finally delivers on the promise of the Monsterverse. And the number 5, Spider-Man 3. Not the official title or anything, but that's what we're going with. I just think if the rumors are true, it's so exciting. It feels like something slightly new to comics, comic book movies, even though it's basically something old. My main concern with this film, and for not being higher and not being the superhero film award winner, is that I'm really worried it could be overstuffed. Sony have a history of that. Really seems like they have everything in the kitchen sink of this movie. So because of that, slight concern, But hopefully, I'm hoping Marvel can kind of right the train there, whatever the expression is. Following on from that, speaking of a franchise that needs to be put on the right track, for me, is Ghostbusters Afterlife. I just really wanted this to be really good, and I like the tone of the trailer, even though I don't think it's necessarily totally consistent with the rest of it. And this is exactly what I talk about when I talk about marketing perfectly. This was a trailer last December, or December 2019 even. They knew there was issues. They shut up. They didn't keep putting out trailers or images or anything like that. They have not heard anything from this film since the initial teaser trailer. And that trailer was perfect for touching the nostalgia of people that love Ghostbusters. And that's exactly what it did to me. So because of that, it's still up there for me. Like, I could get another trailer and be like, oh, it sucks. Never mind. But for now, Ghostbusters Afterlife sits comfortably at my number 4. Number 3 is another superhero film. The highest superhero film on my list, which is Suicide Squad. Like I said, I'm excited to see James Gunn kind of have no shackles at all, R-rated, fun, over-the-top nonsense. That's exactly what this looked like. That's exactly what I enjoy. The fact, and I think it's definitely coming out because of HBO Max. So I can't say that about some of the other films. I've really enjoyed what I've seen so far. Really looking forward to this film in general. So yeah, Suicide Squad for me is the highest rated superhero film on my top 10 list. Number 3. So that leaves number 2, Halloween Kills. It's, I mean, this is the opposite one because in theory, my theory of not marketing has been kind of thrown out the window here, but they've done just really brief snippets, and it's enough snippets to make you go in and go, oh God, I want to see that film. I wish cinemas were back. And that's just really rare in film marketing. And it really is just a great look at what this film could be. And I love the idea of the town taking arms against Michael Myers, and it just seems like they've really tapped into something with this rebooted Halloween series. As much as it was sort of nostalgia based and a bit over the top and too comedic by some people's standards, I think it was a lot of fun. And I hope that this is one that I get to see in cinemas this year because it looks like they've tapped into something even better here with this sequel that looks really intense. And I'm really excited to see it. Number 1 film though, and I'm excited to see this year. Maybe I'm even more of a hipster for picking an original film, but for me, that is Last Night in Soho from Edgar Wright. I mean, I said earlier, Edgar Wright, in my opinion, just hasn't missed. Okay? And I am so excited to see him do something that's maybe less comedic. Not that some of his other films don't work without comedy, you know, like Baby Driver, for example. A psychological horror film directed by Edgar Wright. My mind just goes like, whoa, what is that going to be like? And I can't wait to finally see that in action. Yeah, Last Night in Soho, my most anticipated film of the year. I'm hoping we're going to see it. I'm not necessarily positive we will, unfortunately. But that's it. That's our award show. If this is your first time seeing this, hope you enjoyed it. I hope you'll like and subscribe. But you know, I think it went pretty well. It's as I said, next episode we're going to go into HBO Max. There's plenty more stuff to come on the podcasting front. We started plenty of other video series as well this year alone. We're going to be reviewing all the Bond films. I have to finish reviewing the Home Alone films. We're doing a weekly video series on WandaVision and all the MCU stuff on TV, which, boy, we've covered. There's a lot of that. Yeah, it's going to be a big year, not just for cinema, but for the Pop Cult Pod. So I hope you'll stick around. And if you enjoy this, as I said, please subscribe, like, recommend to your friends and all that good stuff. Regardless, that is this week's episode. Coming back in 2 weeks of HBO Max. I'm exhausted by that award show. Liam Neeson is falling asleep. I'm still here. I'm still awake. Oh, sorry. What a dumb joke. Anyway, thank you for joining me. I'll see you in the next one. Remember, I can't spell cult without you.